Rookie Hoon-guk is being punished, forced to bend his head painfully onto a steel helmet. Not only him, but an entire squad is also punished by being made to stand on their heads just because they lost 5 bullets. 5 hours passed. Everyone was grimacing and exhausted. Only Hoon-guk remained calm, chewing on a copper bullet to restore his energy. This way, he can absorb metal. The more he eats, the stronger he becomes. The system shows the weight of metal he can manipulate has reached 300 grams. Clearly, it's too small compared to Hyundai's strength in his previous life. Back then, he was known as the Iron Emperor because he could control thousands of swords to create a storm that completely wiped out the monsters invading Earth. Unexpectedly, in a careless moment, Hoon-guk was stabbed from behind. The culprit was not the monsters, but the traitorous humans. They deluded themselves into thinking they were superior beings who wanted to punish and cleanse all humanity. Now the execution time has come. Hoon-guk was impaled by a burly man with a sharp hammer. He screamed desperately, promising to repay this grudge. But unexpectedly, when he opened his eyes, he returned to the past. At this time, he was only a rookie, so all skills reverted to 0. Worst of all, he had to face the worthless team leader who always bullied the subordinates, especially Nam-ching. Every mealtime, he forced Hoon-guk to go on missions. This time, Hoon-guk refused to hold back and happily accepted the order. Then he hid in a dark corner and pulled out a handful of iron spoons he had prepared beforehand to absorb. After putting each one into his mouth, savoring the rich metallic flavor, the system notified that the metal weight he could manipulate had reached 310. At this growth rate, it would be a long time before he could catch up to his pre-death state. According to memories from his previous life, Hoon-guk knew that a level 1 monster bug would appear in 3 days, which was a breakthrough opportunity. All right, let's see what someone with experience like me can do. Very quickly, 3 days passed. Hyundai was guarding a checkpoint on a hill with his teammates. At this time, the metal weight he could control had risen to 1359. After continuously watching the clock, Hyundai grasped the right moment and suddenly chambered a bullet into his AK-47, startling the teammate next to him. Could something be about to happen? Just as he predicted, grotesque goblins began emerging from a gate. There were 5 of them attempting a surprise raid on the camp at the foot of the hill while everyone was still asleep and unaware of the danger. Then the leader monster screamed orders to attack. Before he could finish the second word, a sharp knife flew and knocked him back 5 meters. And that perfect strike was none other than Hoon-guk's. He continued controlling flying weapons, directly confronting the overwhelming number of goblins. After a few basic moves, Hoon-guk easily finished off a reckless goblin that rushed forward. From its corpse, a bright red gem fell out. Without thinking much, he controlled it straight into his mouth. That disgusting taste was mana steel. If he kept absorbing, he would soon become stronger than in his previous life. He became extremely excited, charging with a knife into the goblin forest alone. Previously, Hyundai had understood their attack patterns, so he easily dodged them all. Then he quickly manipulated weapons to attack, but didn't finish them off yet, only stopping at destroying the goblin's leg tendons, causing them intense pain as they writhed on the ground. Because his target was not just the small goblins, but to lure out the boss monster, while it was gnashing its teeth on a nearby tree trunk, refusing to show itself. Suddenly, a little goblin tried to sneak attack. Luckily, Hoon-guk noticed it in time. He quickly swung his blade and took it out. He didn't want to kill them so easily, but remembering he was stabbed from behind in his past life, Hoon-guk was furious and warned that if anyone dared attack like that again, he would never forgive them. At this moment, the bug monster couldn't hold back anymore and decided to attack. Casting a ground manipulation spell, thousands of sharp spikes suddenly shot up, ravaging the entire area. When the dust cleared, a large number of small demons lay dead, unjustly defeated. The boss monster deeply regretted his reckless move, unaware that a familiar blade was flying toward him. Yet he still quickly managed to block it. Definitely not easy to fool. More importantly, the system is warning that 60% of the mana has been consumed. Need to act faster. Just as he was about to go all out with them, the teammate Bao suddenly appeared, loudly calling for him. The boss monster saw the opportunity and immediately ordered everyone to switch attack direction, forcing Hoon-guk to leave the target and return to save his teammate. Then unleashed a hail of bullets combined with weapon control to counter. The last goblin was quickly shot down by him, but when he turned back, he saw the boss monster fleeing with the loot. Only teammate Bao was left curled up. Suddenly, the radio crackled with the commander's voice asking about the gunfire and requesting a report. forcing Huynh to reveal the truth that the monsters had arrived here. He knew that very soon that woman would be sent here. That was Sergeant Seo Unha. In her past life, she had stopped this attack, but took all the loot, including a legendary item, the adamantium stone that creates terrifying power to manipulate metal. If missed this time, the past would repeat. He would die again, so he was determined to seize it at all costs. The current situation at nearby Outpost 6 was falling to the bloodthirsty goblins. Inside, a terrified soldier was repeatedly sending requests for reinforcements. Although there was a solid barricade outside, it probably wouldn't hold for long. Suddenly, the soldier felt an unusual silence outside. It turned out the boss monster had arrived. It cast spells controlling a rain of rocks and earth to launch a full assault on the guards, causing large cracks in the barricade. Two soldiers helplessly endured the attack, silently praying. They knew if caught, they would be placed on an altar and have their hearts cut out while still alive. In desperation, one tried to take his own life for a gentler death. Suddenly, Huynh voice came over the radio, promising support. He ordered Soldier Duong to aim the crossbow at the flashlight beam outside. The crossbow, combined with fire skills, was ready amid the darkness filled with floating boulders. Sure enough, a beam of light appeared. It was Huynh pinning down a goblin. He had a signal light mounted on his shoulder. The missile arrow was quickly launched straight at the goblin, causing an explosion that sent it flying. This way, the brothers could save mana. Plus the archer's firepower, this game easily witnessed a destructive rain of missiles wiping out goblin minions, making the boss monster extremely frustrated. It decided to show itself, but still cunning enough not to recklessly face him head-on. Instead, it took teammate Bao hostage to threaten Huynh, all still within the plan. Huynh smiled triumphantly, deciding to use the remaining 40% mana to control his teammate's gun and fire everything at the boss behind catching it off guard. Still, it stubbornly endured the pain, grabbed its crotch, and ran in 8 directions. The gate was just ahead, only 5 meters away. It could escape alive. Unexpectedly, Huynh manipulated its steel chain to pull it back, and then there was no more after that. The boss monster was defeated. The battle ended in a complete victory. It took him 5 minutes crawling through the boss's slimy insides to finally pull out the legendary gem. The guards arrived just as he stuffed it into his mouth. By the time he returned to report, it had already been absorbed. There were still traces of sneaking food on his lips he hadn't wiped off. Sergeant Seo Unha finally arrived, but all the monsters had already gone to sell salt. This raised suspicion. How could just 4 ordinary soldiers defeat a goblin squad, even including the boss? Their wounds were identical. Definitely done by one person. None other than Huynh, who was smiling satisfiedly because he knew today was the day the Iron Emperor returned. A few days after the incident at the camp gate, chatter was heard. Heard the rumored Dan Ep is real, really real, heard it from the staff's own mouth. At Brigade 2 Battalion 1, the girl couldn't hide her excitement, telling her friend. Others were ready to die, but suddenly Sergeant Dan Ep appeared with a huge sword and chopped the goblins. Dan F. How could that be? This isn't a fairy tale. Nearby, where they talked, someone sighed that the air here really is bad. Sergeant Ozen Gok, Special Intelligence Magical Unit Commander of Squad 2, shouted, "Hey! You want me to believe that nonsense?" "It's true," the soldier politely affirmed. The big soldier next to him lowered his voice and said, "I'm sorry." He trembled. That chubby guy threatened him. "Yes, sir." Sergeant Osan Guk hadn't called for a break yet, but you already lowered your hand. "No, Private Park Jin Jun." This guy Osan Guk called the chubby one Private Lee Wan Suk. "Can you tear apart a goblin with your bare hands? Can you and 3 others attack a gate?" "Absolutely not," he replied firmly. "Oh," Sanguk agreed. "Right, since I didn't see them personally taking down the monsters, I think those were just stragglers behind the goblin horde." But he narrowed his eyes. If a private really lost his mind, it would seriously disrupt the order of the 5th Army Division. Lee Wan-suk understood and gave a sly smile. Definitely can't cause chaos in the 5th Army Division. A beautiful morning arrived, the flag of South Korea fluttering in the breeze. The hallway leading to the soldiers' rooms was silent. "Greetings," a voice rang out at the battalion commander's office. Namchin greeted those inside. "Private Lai Huynh, I came here because I have business with the battalion commander." Namchin felt extremely confused inside. If everything had gone smoothly, they could have just turned a blind eye, so why call me here? Lieutenant Seo Unha was also present, standing at attention beside them. Next to him was Lieutenant Lee Min. Hi, the team leader, sternly asking, Comrade, is it true you disobeyed orders? Lieutenant Colonel Kim Kang-geok looked straight into Nam Chin's eyes and asked, and deliberately pushed back the first gate. If I slip up now, I'll definitely be suspended immediately. Nam Chin took a light breath and thought, calm down. At most, I should be confined to guard duty. He replied loudly and clearly. Yes, sir. I saw the gate explode when Jiang was in position and reacted immediately, Kim Kang-geok said confusedly to Nam Chin. I've read the report, but I still don't understand. Normally, a private F like you would be torn apart. He was not joking. He was expressing his honest thoughts. The pressure was immense. Nam Chin swallowed hard. If he backed down, his military career would be destroyed. He was silent for a few seconds, then said, I feel it's unfair, like I've been deceived. Battalion Commander Kim Kang-geok asked, deceived how? Lee Min-hee spoke up, scolding Nam Chin. How dare you say that to the battalion commander? But Kim Kang-geok waved his hand, making him pause, then returned to attention. Lieutenant Colonel Kim Kang-geok asked why Lee Huin-guk still answered without fear. Every training session you emphasize this, repeating it over and over. Do you remember? Kim Kang-geok was silent for a few seconds, recalling what he had once said. No matter how low the rank, if you apply our Corps' monster strategy, even a rank D or E can fight dogs. But according to his training, even a rank F like me would struggle against a dog. Goblins are not impossible. Lam Seo-eunha looked at Nam Chin and said, I was indeed disobeying orders, but if I hadn't gone to help outpost number 6, all the staff would have died. Good, that's enough logic. Lee Huin-guk was satisfied with what he said. Now it was time for emotion. Memories of Kim Kang-geok's words resurfaced. That's why every rank is a soldier. Always be ready to fight with all your might, he always emphasized. So as a true soldier, appointed by the battalion commander, I always respect my superiors. I used what I was trained in and did my best alongside the staff when lives were at stake. The only reason I could confidently keep going despite being underestimated as a rank F was because of that battalion commander's words. That's the only reason. So when he denied it, I felt like my entire career was a lie. That's why I felt deceived. Battalion Commander Kim Kang-seok, right when he became a second lieutenant, had the gates opened. He nearly lost his life, but without hesitation returned to the army and became a core early member of AMT. Nam Chin smiled and said, in other words, he is a true soldier. Min said he treated what he said like a belief and risked his life for his teammates. How dare he suspend me? Kim Kang-seok approached and grabbed Nam Chin's shoulder. I get it, that's your faith, comrade. His attitude was extremely strange. Nam Chin looked up and introduced himself, Private Lee Hyun-guk. Kim Kang-seok declared he would definitely be promoted to corporal. The system announced congratulations on your promotion to rank D. Nam Chin didn't even have time to react to many announcements. Lee Min-hee opened her mouth in surprise while Seo-eunha rubbed his forehead helplessly. Major Kim Kang-seok nodded with tears in his eyes. Nam Chin was sweating all over his face, not expecting this to happen. His eyes, full of panic, couldn't hide his emotions. Am I hearing this wrong? His voice trembled as he asked again at Brigade 2, Battalion 1's damn gym. Nam Chin cursed loudly while lifting weights. The heavy weight was thrown back to its place. Lee Hyun-guk, drenched in sweat, sat up, gasping for breath. I'm in trouble now. He was wiping sweat, and nearby 2 people saw Nam Chin and had a scheme. Lee Won-suk and Oh-san-guk smiled at each other. Nam Chin wiped sweat while recalling what had just happened. Lee Min-hee hurriedly stopped them, saying they can't do that. AMT has never had a corporal rank F before, but thanks to squad leader Lee Min-hee, I have time to say I'll consider it. Your words got tangled up, but I should live quietly for a while so I don't cause any attention. Suddenly a voice cut through his thoughts. Lee Won-suk spoke up. Hey, Private Lee. Hyun-guk, are you done with the weights? Not yet, Nam Chin replied politely. Both suddenly had a silent moment. Would Lee Won-suk still be smiling like that? This made Nam Chin a bit uncomfortable, and he immediately asked what he was planning to do. Lee Won-suk loudly declared, the most famous guy like you sharing this much weight. Our unit would be so embarrassed. Everyone training immediately paid attention to the loud voices. Nam Chin also noticed the laughter from that group. Oh-san-guk was lifting a small weight, sneering, if you don't cover your paper, you're just trash, Oh-san-guk. Nam Chin saw himself surrounded by those devilish laughs and felt his spirit collapse. I knew he'd openly bully me like last time, so annoying. He rubbed his head, just trying not to attract attention, but I'm already annoyed. That's exactly right, his words made Lee Won-suk raise a question mark. Let's have a fist fight, Lee Hyun-guk, he suggested fiercely. His words surprised the other two, eh? Lee Won-suk's voice echoed throughout the gym. The guys over there said Private Lee Hyun-guk is about to fight. Many people gathered around the ring to watch the fight. Everyone was interested. Nam Chin put on gloves, tilted his neck, and warmed up gently. Lee Won-suk also put on gloves confidently and said, Private Lee Hyun-guk, it's time to teach you a lesson. He arrogantly said, let me learn from our outstanding Private Lee Hyun-guk. The whole hall was now focused on the fight between the two. He charged at Nam Chin to attack. The battle officially began. Elsewhere, a voice suddenly rang out, What? Has Cho Young-jun gone on leave? What do you mean? He helplessly said he heard that the guy has the potential to become a sword saint, so he had high hopes. I still want to see it with my own eyes. At this time, Lee Min-hee spoke up, Lieutenant Cho Young-jun. The squad leader is truly the current ace, but there's also another guy considered a next-generation ace, a fanatic type. Hearing this, he pondered thoughtfully. After all, he is Lieutenant John Myung-ho, Tactical Training Officer of the Black Tiger Unit. Moreover, the Black Tiger Unit is AMT's Elite Special Forces Unit. Besides the unit's name, everything else is a national secret. Lee Min-hee continued, You've come all this way, it'd be a shame to leave empty-handed. So since you're here, do you want to take a look? Meanwhile, Hyun-guk and the fat guy kept sparring before his attacks. Nam Ching increasingly dodged and provoked, making him even angrier. Everyone at the scene silently watched this intense battle. Lee Min-hee enthusiastically introduced Captain John. Sir, you arrived just in time to witness this selection match. What do you think each strike feels like a lightning bolt? However, John Myung-ho remained calm and observed quietly. What's the point of saying that? None of the hits landed on the opponent. Hearing this, Lee Min-hee added that the guy still lacks experience, so he's holding back. If he landed a serious blow, he'd be hospitalized. Hearing that, he muttered, Is that so? From the stands, someone watching the fight couldn't hold back and shouted, Lee Won-suk, you're holding back too much, fight properly. At this point, the crowd below started yelling, Is this some kind of joke? Yeah, kid, I'm really rooting for you now. Under the pressure of the crowd, he cursed silently. Damn it, why am I holding back? His body felt inexplicably heavy, making movement and fighting difficult. Lee Won-suk then charged to attack Nam Chin again. But with his golden hands, he was very confident, thinking that with his metal control ability, this was manageable. Every step he took was extremely heavy. So Hyun-guk easily dodged his attacks. It was very confusing. How could this be? Nam Ching thought to himself that the opponent probably felt like he was fighting while moving through a swamp. The more he thought about it, the more he smiled wickedly. But at that moment, Lee Won-suk suddenly shouted to stop. Wait, my leg feels strange. Nam Ching pretended not to know and asked, just like that, trying to run away. Annoyed by Nam Chin's provocative attitude, he instantly got angry and said, Damn arrogant brat. He immediately activated his Berserker Armor Body Enhancement skill. Watching this, Hyun-dae no longer underestimated him, his expression turning serious. From the stands, John Myung-ho couldn't help but exclaim, With this body enhancement, this is no longer an ordinary fight. But what about his opponent? His gaze was unwavering, like an angry bull fighting a leopard that hides its fangs, waiting for the right moment. Very interesting. Hearing this, Lee Min-hee proudly said, I told you that kid Lee Won-suk isn't ordinary. A D-rank body enhancement, I'm seeing it for the first time, too. After that round, Lee Won-suk said confidently, All right, let's finish this. Sure enough, after the body enhancement, he became much faster and stronger. One punch sent Nam Chin flying. From the stands, people started shouting loudly, That's right, exactly like that. Lee Won-suk really is on another level. That's why he's called the next generation's ace. The crowd below cheered like that. But only those involved knew that the last punch looked powerful. Yet Lee Won-suk was secretly shocked and thought, What is this? Why does it feel like I'm punching steel? The system announced D-rank body enhancement effect consumes 5 mana to temporarily enhance a part of the body by absorbing a high-hardness magical metal, improving the body enhancement skill to transform part of the body into steel. Hyun-guk sneered, This time I'll counterattack, you piece of meat. Nam Chin's itchy attack stance once again successfully angered him. Lee Won-suk immediately shouted and charged, You damn arrogant brat! With his agility, Nam Chin quickly dodged the attack. He thought to himself, such a skill is wasted on someone like you. Very quickly, Nam Chin counterattacked and defeated him. To him, someone who's arrogant just because of strength. You said you'd teach me a lesson, right? But instead, you'll regret it. Yes, just like that, Lee Won-suk was defeated by Nam Chin to everyone's surprise. But this result was not unexpected for John Myung-ho. He thought silently. The leopard finally showed its fangs. It's bitten the bull's neck. If you're a beast, you can't ignore the opponent's weak spot on the neck, right? Cut off the opponent's windpipe. Lai Huin-suk was beaten severely but still refused to give up. He rose again, lifting Lieutenant Guk up, his voice full of madness. "You bastard, I don't know what crazy trick you're planning, but forget about it." As he spoke, he threw Nam-chin down. The fight continued. Lee Huin-guk was held upside down like a toy by the other guy and was thrown forcefully forward. His face was full of worry as he was about to be slammed to the ground. But no. He gripped the enemy's arm tightly and didn't let go, one leg clamping firmly on the man's cheek, forcing him to stop. Lieutenant Tron, standing under the stands, couldn't help but silently comment, "If you keep slamming your opponent like that with a chokehold, you'll end up destroying your own arm." He's reacting better than I thought. Right now, he's still hanging by a thread. He clung tightly to the opponent's arm. Lieutenant John continued silently analyzing him, but with a berserker in a body enhancement state that chokehold usually wouldn't succeed. Has he overestimated him? His arrogant opponent raised his other hand and shouted, "You're just struggling to survive." He ignored the taunt, held onto the big arm tightly without letting go, and shouted loudly. The other guy swung his fist at him, still shouting provocatively, "Do you think that can break my arm?" Without hesitation, he threw a punch toward his chin. He wondered if he was planning to break his fingers. Thinking so, he quickly spread his palm wide. Seeing this, he knew his plan was hit, so he used his two legs clamped around the man's neck, bent his body back to release his legs, then grabbed the head with that slick white hair of True. Then he quickly changed his hand position, locking both hands tightly around his neck, his body hanging on the opponent's back. Lieutenant Tron got excited seeing this, his face like someone who just turned the tables. It was him who shouted, twisting his body to tighten the chokehold. That's right. Pressing hard on the arteries in the neck is dangerous because berserkers only focus their body enhancement on muscles. He finally taunted the other guy. "Is that all you got? Go ahead and try to use your strength to break free." He smiled wickedly. At that moment, the system suddenly notified Body Enhancement Level D activated, consuming 5 mana to temporarily enhance part of the body. It turned out he had enhanced his body. The other guy couldn't believe it and thought to himself, "No way, with his enhancement power, he still can't break free." The system sent another warning. The body enhancement usage has exceeded the current limit. Then his entire body emitted a blue electric aura. The system issued another warning. Exceeding the limit may destroy the caster's body. Seeing the situation wasn't good, a soldier turned to Lieutenant Oh Sang-kuk and shouted, "Isn't he going to stop him? Lee Won-seok with that personality will definitely not hold back." At this point, he was reaching his body's limit, but still showed no sign of fatigue. He looked full of hatred at that Oh Sang-kuk guy. Thinking silently, is this enough of a warning for him? Oh Sang-kuk seemed to understand this was a warning and kept trembling, sweating profusely. Meanwhile, his opponent, trapped in the chokehold, was near death but refused to give up. He thought to himself, "Am I really about to lose to a worthless guy like this?" Looking at the crowd in front, watching him, he asked himself again, "Do I really have to lose so miserably in public? Me, I'm supposed to be the next generation's ace." Thinking this, his fighting spirit surged again. He was very surprised to see his muscles gradually swelling bigger. Then his whole body grew exponentially. The cloth wrapped around him tore apart. He grew so tall he touched the ceiling, causing cracks to appear. But he didn't loosen his grip on the neck, even though the neck was getting bigger and his 2 arms were about to be overwhelmed. Lieutenant Tron was amazed and exclaimed, "What a surprise. Double-level body enhancement. But if you can't break free from that chokehold, the result is you're choking yourself." Who is this? Between the two, who is the predator? That guy is getting bigger. His 2 hands reach out toward you like he's trying to pull you out. You ignore him grabbing your neck. Your face is already veined with tension. You shout loudly. The other guy screams in horror at the same time. Then he collapses face down on the ground. The guard is not allowing anyone into anyone's room. Everyone is surprised to see the result clearly decided. Only Corporal Troll happily thinks to himself, "That guy really is a beast." After being surprised for a moment, everyone regains composure and anxiously asks if that guy Lee Won-seok is okay. The group touches his body and says luckily he's still breathing. Looks like he just fainted. Someone wonders aloud, "Hey, how did you manage to knock this guy down?" At that moment, someone happily approaches you with a towel and says, "Wounded soldier Lee Hyun-guk, I knew you'd win. You seem to anticipate the person rushing in to hug you, so you block them with your hand. That person still eagerly asks, "Are you hurt anywhere?" "I was so worried, but you don't care right now." You just stare fixedly at Oh Sang-chuk, who's avoiding your gaze. Suddenly, Corporal John steps in front of you and asks, "Comrade, what's your name?" The soldiers notice and look in this direction. You look at the person in front of you and recognize him as Corporal John Myung-ho. You raise your hand in a salute-like gesture and say, "Loyal. I'm Private Lee Hyun-guk, 1st Platoon." You can't help but wonder, why is he here at this hour? Seeing your salute, Corporal John returns it and introduces himself. "I'm Corporal John Myung-ho from the Red Tactical Training Center Black Tiger Unit. That recent duel was quite impressive. Are you interested in the Special Operations Unit?" After speaking, he hands you a card, like a business card. Everyone around starts whispering excitedly and surprised. Quite a few people speak up and say he's being recruited by the strongest unit in ATM, right? Someone asks, "Then why scold him? He's crazy and still got in." You don't bother thinking much and say bluntly, "Sorry, but you're a standard F-level player." Seeing you hesitate due to your rank, he advises rank is just a standard set by ordinary people. They need a strong warrior like you. On the outside, you seem thoughtful but secretly complain here and there. Everyone is forced to stay. The military is a harsh environment. At this point, the corporal holds out the card again and asks once more, "Do you intend to join?" You look at the card, your face full of hesitation. You think to yourself that you'll definitely face the villainous army later. You'll just be held back by the Special Corps. For now, better keep your distance. You take the card and skillfully reply, "Thank you for valuing me. I will think about it." You're talking enthusiastically, unaware that from afar, Oh Sang-chuk is clenching his fists, grinding his teeth fiercely. Meanwhile, in the battalion commander's room, the commander sips tea and asks, "So, how's the Black Tiger unit doing lately? Any problems?" Sitting opposite the commander is Corporal Tron. He seriously complains. "On this side, it's tough because manpower is always short. The commander interrupts lately. As long as you reach C rank, the association recruits you, so there's no other choice. They train talents wholeheartedly, only for them to be taken by others outside so they share the same fate. They exchange meaningful looks at this. The commander laughs happily and says, "So you came here because of Sergeant Cho Yang-jun." The corporal, being asked, can't deny it. "Yes, but it seems he's currently on leave. Thanks to that, I found an interesting soldier." Seeing Corporal Tron smiling happily, the commander asks again, "An interesting soldier." Meanwhile, on the running field, someone calls out loudly to Private Lee Hyun-guk. "It turns out you and that guy from this morning are jogging." The battalion commander inside the room sees this scene. He's still on the phone. He tells the person on the other end, "Yeah, he's the battalion commander. Nothing else. Find out what Private Lee Hyun-guk did before enlisting. He doesn't know. The person inside that window is talking about you while you keep running downstairs with your comrades." The battalion commander on this side continued to speak to the other, "All right, just handle his matters first." Then he looked out at Lee Hyun-guk, who was running exhausted, and said, Sorry, comrade, this isn't entirely his fault." It was dark now, and the streets were crowded. Suddenly, a furry silhouette dashed past, catching the attention of a child by the roadside. The child saw this and immediately ran after it, shouting, "Hey, Mr. Monkey!" The boy looked into the alley as he called out to the monkey. But just as the monkey and the boy's words turned around, it was a horrifying and strange face. The boy instantly trembled with fear, unable to speak. He realized this was not a monkey. At that moment, the monster started becoming more and more aggressive. The alley was filled with demons. They surrounded a very deep whirlpool hole. On this side, the male lead entered the armory and couldn't help but marvel at his surroundings. This was the Unha Battalion's armory. He then spoke up. "The battalion commander did not accept your battle achievements, and instead followed orders to reward you with weapons and grant you leave. But the squad leader didn't believe you could do it." He recalled the frowning face of the young man earlier and fell silent. This life really isn't any different from his. Then he lifted a weapon to examine it and said, "Whether they believe it or not, I did it." She heard this, turned to look at him, and said, "You're quite arrogant, aren't you?" The goblins at the gate were all killed with a single sword strike. "This means that one guard managed to stop the first attack by himself." She asked, "Do you think so?" He then took the weapon in his hand and decided to choose it. Unha was stunned upon seeing this, then seriously explained, Don't just pick on a whim like that. It's as if I'm forcing you. Think carefully before choosing. He remained confident in his decision. The reason was that the system displayed the item's information. This was the cloud sword capable of absorbing water to create a mist veil over the opponent's eyes. It now looked like an ugly miscellaneous item, but later Sergeant Cho Eong-jun was honored as the Sword Saint thanks to this sword. The real name of this sword is Cloudmaster's Hidden Blade. In Dan Gang mythology, 3 weather gods descended with Kwang-gon to the mortal realm and bestowed the title of Cloudmaster to the Rainmaster. Among them, the god who governs clouds is the Cloudmaster. Along with the sword called Hidden Blade, many feats were accomplished. Cloudmaster's Hidden Blade means the sword blade hidden in the clouds, or in other words, it's the Thunderstrike. If its potential is fully utilized, it can harness lightning strong enough to single-handedly break into a medium-sized monster's lair. He raised the sword and said appreciatively, "The combination of steel forging and thunder is the best, though I do feel a bit guilty for the sword's previous owner." The opponent behind could only sigh. "I didn't expect your achievements to be so impressive, yet you only took that fragile sword." He, however, was satisfied with his choice. He looked around and said, "There's no more time to think." At that moment, the space around them began to shift. She was a bit surprised to see that. Immediately after, an urgent alarm was announced at the Ideon Gate. Everyone in the battalion scrambled to stand up and prepare their weapons for battle. His eyes became sharp and calm as usual. She found this puzzling. How can he be so calm, so composed, as if he knew this was coming? Right after the battalion gathered at the alarm spot, they all put on their full armor proudly. Others couldn't help but be impressed. "Wow, this is the first time I've seen the Cheong Guild. Wow, I heard the support at the back gate this time is from Cheong-kwa. Just look at their armor and weapons, all high-end luxury items." The small guy began imagining, "If I could sell these clothes, I'd be able to buy a building in Gangnam." The kid next to him laughed joyfully. "If I had 5, I'd definitely join Cheong-kwa." They then started roll call. After a report was finished, he spoke as he had heard from the artillery captain. "This time it's the Koi Ban Gate. Even small monsters can cause more casualties than the snail battle because they mainly use poisonous needles and toxic gas to fight." He seriously forbade them, "Roll up your uniform sleeves when fighting on the battlefield." Hearing this, the person in front hurriedly pulled down his sleeve. He even asked, "Do we really have to be this careful?" He seriously replied, "This is a real situation. Do you want to get your eyes gouged out by a demon?" Upon hearing that, he immediately obediently stopped asking questions. Right after, he continued explaining the preparations for the combat. The 2 guys from earlier sneered, "Does the trash squad need to discuss battle plans too?" Anyone watching would think the reinforcement squad was rushing into battle. His team's faces darkened when they heard that Lee Hyun-suk blinked his wide eyes. Now Jin Cheon was frequently clearing their territory during dungeon raids to attack. "Don't relax like that and check your gas masks carefully." Seeing this, he arrogantly said, "No need to teach them. They look like people without experience who have time to listen to such advice." Seeing that, he calmly repeated once again, "I already made it clear." The 2 then strolled past and said, "Yes, Captain of Trash Squad 2. At this, his whole team's faces fell, looking defeated. He then ordered everyone to stand at attention, and they immediately did. He then spoke with powerful words. They had heard such words many times before. Now they were in a real situation where they could die at any moment. So don't be afraid. The entire battalion shouted clearly. Then he handed out motion sensors to place in the narrow passages. After that, he gave the order to complete the mission within 20 minutes. They immediately ran off quickly to carry out the mission. At that moment, he suddenly called Junmo. He shouted back with enthusiasm. On this side, the group on the mission felt he seemed a bit more sensitive and serious today, sparking quiet chatter. Here, he and Junmo were standing close together. Junmo looked at him and he felt confused. Junmo scratched his face shyly. "What's up?" Just as he asked what Junmo had said, an arrow suddenly shot straight into his neck. Suddenly, he fell straight to the ground. Something started climbing over him on the ground. Blue gas sprayed out immediately, causing chaos in the team. Fortunately, a few had time to put on gas masks. Everyone shouted to each other that it was poisonous gas. Suddenly, demons appeared and attacked. Seeing the monsters, they realized this was a real battle. Hyun-guk was still lying on the ground, trembling from the needle in his neck. Suddenly, a monster approached. He looked closely at its face, unable to hide his shock. Looking closer, he saw the monster holding a knife ready to stab down. Around its neck hung bloodshot eyes. Then the demon stabbed the knife straight at his face. Just as the monster was about to strike his eye, a figure appeared and knocked the monster away. His teammate anxiously asked if he was okay. He cried out in pain. Meanwhile, the other monster was preparing to attack. Seeing this, he quickly shouted, "Pakrumo, run!" He asked confusedly, "Why, put on your gas mask quickly." But then his body was suddenly severed. The scene exploded, and Cho Hyun-guk couldn't help but scream in horror, "No!" Back to reality. Junmo scratched his head and asked him if he was Hyun-guk. He looked at him with discomfort. In his previous life, Junmo had died saving him. Meanwhile, the others began shouting that the battle sensors were set up. The fierce dungeon gate battle was about to begin today. Then he called out Junmo's name. The other side immediately shouted back seriously. He said he would send the combat signal to them, then told Junmo to get the battalion members out of the combat zone. He looked confused. Then a vehicle appeared. Junmo asked in surprise, "Isn't this an armed evacuation?" He seriously replied, "This is a tactic." At that moment, the superior's announcement came over reporting that Zones 1 and 3 had no survivors. Then continued the Area 4 Year 6 with no survivors. So then, the horrifying announcement rang out. No one survived the initial phase of the Red Battlefield campaign. At the same time, they found the monster lair in Area 2, Subzone B9, estimated to be about 200 creatures. They will advance into the Magic Matrix in Zone A. Now a clan emblem arm appeared and the battalion charged inside with shields up front. They are approaching Point P to deploy Formation A. From above, the attack team shouted to start the team's magic circle and wait. So all the magic circles were activated, filled entirely with monsters. They immediately charged like a tidal wave. The entire team remained fired up, standing at attention, awaiting orders. When the monsters jumped to within a distance from the circle, the wait order still echoed. Finally, when only about 1 centimeter away, a shot rang out. The magic circle was then activated. All the monsters rushing in were instantly burned and shot. The scene was both terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Outside, they were still setting up. Everyone hurriedly moved around following orders. Then one place after another was fully set up. Finally, he stuck an X-shaped piece of tape at a spot as a marker. The person behind saw this and asked confusedly what he was doing. He stood up and said he was installing a motion sensor unit. Following instructions, he marked its position with aluminum tape. The other person felt it was a bit of a waste of money. At this time, those in armor took their positions. The team leader kept nagging. This is team leader Lee Min-hee, a lieutenant, a professional mage specializing in teleportation, a level C player. He continued saying that first squad will deploy in 20 minutes. Therefore, the support squad must provide antidote kits or a supply of antidotes. He listened silently, then clearly shouted out the support squad's mission from the company commander to prevent the monsters from escaping toward the residential area. Up front, those who saw this had already gotten used to Lee Min-hee glancing sideways repeatedly. Then he gritted his teeth and complained, "Oh my God." His face showed displeasure. The squad leader had only treated him well once, and now he acts like he can do whatever he wants. Then he pointed at Hyun-guk's face and scolded him for having no experience. Yet he maintained a serious expression and shouted his own rank, Lee Min-hee. Seeing this, someone still blamed him, saying, "Who do you think you are lecturing? Can't you relax your face?" He replied directly, "I don't pity anyone." At that moment, a pink-haired girl ran over, panting loudly, asking what was going on. This is second squad leader Choi, CEO, a corporal, a witch specializing in healing, a level C player. Lee Min-hee was about to say something, but then stopped himself. He was a bit thoughtful, thinking that his presence had calmed things down a bit. This is the weakness of young Lee Min-hee. Soon after, the other guy put an arm around him and said it seemed the support squad still didn't fully understand the battlefield situation. "I'm trying to explain to him what the real battlefield is like." His face started to flush red. "Is something wrong?" Sun Ha then remembered and said, "Oh right, the Deputy Chief Cho called Corporal Lee Hyun-guk." Hearing this, he was stunned and asked, "Me?" Up above, she stood still, looking toward the city. Holding binoculars and looking at Hyun-guk, Sun Ha said, "Don't worry about what the second squad leader said, okay?" He replied, "Right now there are many important things to do." So she happily responded, "I'm responsible for installing the sensor unit, so just let me handle that. Then we'll leave here quickly." Hearing that, he nodded, thinking silently that time was running out. Exactly what was the battalion commander thinking? Meanwhile, they were still watching the living area below. That person said, "We are the direct assault force taking orders from the battalion commander, which is why we were summoned for the monster attack." But she should have replied that it was an order from the battalion commander. She looked down and said, "We are just soldiers who have to follow those orders." Meanwhile, Nam Chin also arrived at the battalion commander's temporary headquarters. At this time, two familiar faces appeared, including Lieutenant John Manhwa. He promptly called out, saluting Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk as present. He looked at him confused, not knowing what he wanted. The battalion commander placed his hands on the table and said, "I want to test you once because Cho Yang-jun is on leave, so you will temporarily command the first squad and carry out the support attack mission at the gate." He looked at the other in shock. The guy who never cared about him in the past life just said, "What now? I don't have time for this, get a grip and get moving." Nam Ching shouted, "Sir, since being assigned to this squad, I've only carried out support and reinforcement missions. I cannot accept putting the lives of the first squad members into such a dangerous test. Besides, this isn't a training session, but an actual combat situation." The battalion commander sternly said, "This is an order." He bit his lip in anger. Earlier, the team reported that the monster boss had left the nest. Attention switching from Phase 2 to Phase 3. He couldn't help but worry because they would soon attack the reinforcement troops. If he didn't go immediately, the rear defense line would be breached. The emergency announcement continued to sound. He gritted his teeth and decided he had to leave immediately. He told the battalion commander he had something to say. The battalion commander said, "You have permission." Hyun-guk became silent. Nearby, she was looking through binoculars when suddenly a distant running sound caught her attention. He ran over with a serious face. "Reinforcement squad, beware of gas." At this moment, the alarm bell also rang. The entire reinforcement squad panicked immediately. The familiar scene from the past life appeared again, gas spraying up like a tide. The squad instantly fell into chaos. He covered his nose and anxiously said it was spreading faster than he remembered. At the battalion commander's temporary headquarters, a voice called out to him. He had something to say. The battalion commander, sitting with arms crossed and a serious look, replied, "You have permission to speak." Then the young man began to speak. "I heard that the battalion commander lost all the unit members on the very first mission." Hearing this, the battalion commander immediately frowned. Someone nearby, upon hearing the question, also turned around in surprise. Then Lee Hyun-guk explained, "It's hard to believe that I come from the reinforcement squad and am treated like a regular soldier, yet now you order me to join a real battle just to test you here." The young man shouted angrily, "Does the respected battalion commander also see ordinary soldiers as disposable tools?" At that moment, the battalion commander spoke, "You're mistaken. Then you will follow the assault squad under my command." Lee Hyun-guk then loudly said, "If that is the battalion commander's order, I will obey." At that moment, Lee Hyun-guk thought about his own pitiful face he had endured before. A few thoughts appeared. He couldn't say he knew the future. Then suddenly thought, "Oh, my chest feels so tight." Still standing before the battalion commander, he spoke up. "However, since I lack combat experience, especially in leading a squad which I have never done before, there is a high chance of casualties." Lee Hyun-guk loudly said, "I am very grateful that the battalion commander trusts me. But if the price is the lives of my comrades, then I must oppose the order." After hearing Lee Hyun-guk's words, the battalion commander remained silent without responding. At this moment, the guy standing next to him spoke loudly, "Corporal, disobeying orders during wartime means facing the death penalty. Do you realize what you just said?" At this moment, Lee Hyun-guk stood silently. But inside, he wanted to shout, "Who wouldn't know that?" Then he seriously thought, if he doesn't go now, the entire rear line will be wiped out. After that, the two were silent for a while. The atmosphere was strangely quiet. Finally, the battalion commander spoke up. "Understood. If so, today you will carry out the original mission of the support squad as planned." Hearing that, Lee Hyun-guk mentally exclaimed, "Oh," then thought, the battalion commander is really something. Then he continued speaking, but before he could finish, the battalion commander frowned and shouted, "As a true soldier, the punishment for disobeying orders will be enforced in the future, and each individual will bear the consequences." After saying that, he didn't respond any further. Scene changes to nighttime at the training ground with dense toxic gas. At this time, Lee Hyun-guk was deeply focused on carrying out his mission. Then he squatted down, reached his hand behind while crossing his arms. In his mind, he kept thinking how disgusting the damn military was. Then he pulled something glowing out of his gear bag. The gear bag is used to store military supplies, and its capacity varies by rank and specialty. He took out his water bottle and poured the water out. After pouring this water, makes the sword emit a special energy. Item info. Name is Cloud Sword. Its main feature is absorbing water and generating a hydrous bone membrane. The sword began absorbing water absorption rate at 25%. At this moment, a notification appeared, vision completely impaired by toxic gas. Then Lee Hyun-guk heard some noise and turned his head to observe, sensing something was wrong. He thought, is it too late? Then he muttered, Junmo, please take others and run. Suddenly, from the toxic gas appeared a terrifying monster. But not just one. A whole pack of beasts charged to attack everyone. A soldier being attacked could only scream, Park Junmo. Park Junmo heard the call and turned toward the noise, shocked by the scene. Immediately, he aimed his gun at the beast, causing his friend to bleed. Park Junmo shouted, You damn creature, stay away from him. Then he fired his gun. The beast noticed and turned toward him. Hit by the bullet, the beast retreated. At this time, the injured friend was still lying on the ground, clutching his lower abdomen, bleeding. Seeing this, he ordered, Squad support and Minty inside the box, hurry. Someone tried to crawl toward the injured friend and said they will carry Private and Minty back. Then he pulled and Minty back. Because of the serious injury, a long blood trail was left on the ground. Realizing the urgent situation, she was terrified, holding her head with wide eyes. Park Junmo turned and said, Sergeant, treat him now. Seeing her holding her head and slumping down, he added, Sergeant. Then he thought silently, she's only 20 years old. Holding the gun, he thought further, this is her first time in combat. But he was just a low-ranking soldier in this support squad. What else could he do? Suddenly, a voice rang out. Private Park Junmo, they're out of ammo. Another voice added, This is his last magazine. Then he closed his eyes tightly, wondering what he should do. Are they really about to die? Then a thought flashed through his mind. What would Lee Hyun-guk do? Then he started thinking if it were Lee Hyun-guk. Immediately, a voice came from the one treating and Minty. Private and Minty needs immediate medical attention. Where's the sergeant? Then he reached into his gear bag and pulled something out. While shooting, he suddenly realized his gun was out of ammo. At this moment, Park Junmo took in his hand the item he just pulled from the bag and looked at it. He immediately turned and ordered send a message to the reinforcement squad at once. He continued, Kobolds are attracted to glowing objects. You will use a flash attack to lure that group of kobolds. After that, the entire company follows the sergeant and takes the wounded out of here immediately. Only then did the sergeant look up and ask, Private Park Junmo, what are you talking about? Then he raised what he had taken out earlier high and loudly said, as the squad's corporal, This is an order, just like what Private Lee Hyun-guk said. If we reach the evacuation zone, we will meet the VCAB guild there. When he signaled everyone to run with all their might. At this moment, the monsters started to pay attention to the light emitted from Park Junmo. He continued the same motion as before, thinking my electronic skills can't kill even the weakest monster. But in the end, I was able to use it to save everyone. Then he ran very fast past the monsters, causing them to notice and chase after him. In their eyes, his silhouette appeared, and they began to chase the whole group. Meanwhile, everyone in the back was also watching everything unfold. At this point, Park Junmo ordered, the moment has come, everyone run. Everyone turned their backs, but still worried about him. Looking back at him, they thought silently, Private Park. On the sergeant's side, she was equally concerned, thinking of Junmo. At this moment, the distance between him and the monsters was very short, meaning the danger was very close to him. At this moment, Park Junmo said, Private Lee Hyun-guk would do the same. You did the right thing. Run with your life. He kept saying, if he were here, he would still use his body as bait. Now Park Junmo continued to run with all his strength. It felt like he could run faster than a Lamborghini, overtaking the monsters running behind him. Suddenly, he bumped into someone in front of him. After the collision, Park Junmo fell heavily to the ground. The person standing before him said, Hey, he heard everything. At this moment, an item information board appeared. The name was Cloud Sword. Its main function is to absorb water to create an aquatic bone membrane or neutralize poison gas within the range of the crystal bone. The absorption rate is 100%. Recognizing the person before him as Lee Hyun-guk, and moreover, he didn't need to wear a mask because of the specificity of the item in hand. Item information. The name is Cloud Sword. Its main function is to absorb water to create an aquatic bone membrane or neutralize poison gas within the range of the crystal bone. The absorption rate is 100%. At this moment, Lee Hyun-guk remained silent and said nothing. Hey, Park. Junmo lifted his head and said, Private Lee Hyun-guk, Lee Hyun-guk then called out loudly, "Hey, Park Junmo!" He adjusted his mask and said, "Private Park Junmo, you need to stop overexciting yourself when imitating me. You overdid it a bit just now." Lee Hyun-guk spoke, "Thanks for surviving." He smiled brightly and said, "You did great, Park Junmo." Suddenly, tears welled up. At this moment, the monsters also began rushing in, making strange sounds as they were restrained by Lee Hyun-guk's weapon. Lee Hyun-guk laughed and praised, "You're really brave and admirable. Thanks to your courage, you deserve to treat yourself to this feast." At this moment, many of the monsters in front collapsed dead. Lee Hyun-guk laughed excitedly and said loudly, "Park Junmo's table is already set for you. You will enjoy it to the fullest." At this moment, Lee Hyun-guk continued with an extremely excited and delighted expression, loudly saying, "All right, the feast Park Junmo prepared, he must eat it immediately." Instantly, he swung his arm and slashed across the necks of the monsters, making them unable to resist. Just after that swing, it seemed most of the monsters were knocked down and killed. The remaining ones behind also waited for their turn to die. After the monsters died, next to them were some very special glowing stones. At this moment, Lee Hyun-guk saw those stones. He was very pleased, raised his hand, then continued to smile triumphantly and said, "Looks delicious." Behind him, Park Junmo heard this and asked curiously, "You mean these filthy monsters?" But then suddenly some of the monsters over there roared. Lee Hyun-guk glanced at Park Junmo and thought silently, "Because of him, you're getting nothing done." At that moment, far away, the remaining monsters from earlier stood up and glared at the two of them. Lee Hyun-guk looked at them and asked, "But why can't I see the leader of this bunch?" The beasts kept growling, but still did not attack them. However, it seemed that something made Lee Hyun-guk start to be cautious of the beasts. Then he turned his head in another direction. Lee Hyun-guk spoke, "Could it be?" Although he still held up his glowing sword, the beasts turned away. Then they ran off together in the opposite direction from the two of them. It seemed like they could sense something. He panicked and shouted, "Park Junmo, run! Our squad is in danger." Back at the squad's position, the atmosphere was eerily quiet. Someone said, "The gas is making visibility difficult. At this rate, we can't provide support." Then the woman appeared and said, "Attack platoon. Hold your current position and cooperate with the sniper team to prevent the goblin beasts from leaving the gas area and approaching civilians." The soldier responded, "Understood." Then he turned back and asked her, "By the way, where did the platoon leader go?" She thought to herself that Lee Hyun-guk acted as if he already knew everything. Then she said she had a few things to check. She then jumped down from that building very professionally. Suddenly a voice shouted, "Help me!" It was the young sergeant crying in fear. But in front was a soldier saying that Private Min Tai-an was unconscious and dying and had to be saved immediately. Then he turned back and said to the platoon sergeant, "Please wake up." The platoon sergeant was injured and still unconscious, so he had to continue providing first aid to Min Tai-an. After a moment, a voice rang out, Did the barrel break?" The soldiers holding the barrel were pushed backward. Someone said, "The magic of this boss is too strong." Another said, "Hold on tight. We absolutely cannot let it escape." Suddenly, a super-level beast was casting magic on the barrel to extract its power completely. However, the two of them weren't strong enough to hold the barrel. When the barrel broke, the soldier shouted, "The barrel's shield cracked wide open." At that moment, they saw the beasts charging toward them. Someone shouted, "The goblins are charging!" The beasts were running toward them, looking terrifying. One soldier looked at them and asked in panic, "What should we do now?" Another, trembling with fear, said, "They're going to be killed." Meanwhile, the Beast Lord was still absorbing power into itself. Then suddenly a loud shout came from afar. It was Lee Hyun-suk and Park Junmo running. One shouted, "You bastards!" The Lord Beast's face turned purple with anger. He said, "Don't even think about touching me." It was Lee Hyun-suk running and shouting angrily. Then he pointed his sword straight at the Lord Beast and said, "His army." However, the beast luckily dodged that attack. The sword then swung upward. It rushed toward the Lord Beast and chased after it. The beast couldn't do anything and had to flee. At that moment, the beast glanced at the gas container behind it. It was a container filled with toxic gas. The gas began to spread more. The beast stopped when it was no longer chased by the sword. But at that moment, it realized the sword had cracked its container with a long fissure. The Lord Beast looked extremely angry and hateful. The others also started to get angry and growled. They all immediately charged in the same direction. Noticing it was being targeted, Lee Hyun-guk panicked. Right after that, he had no choice but to run away to escape from them. The beasts didn't let up and chased after him relentlessly. The Lord Beast immediately blew out sharp spikes from its nose. Then a dozen spikes shot toward Lee Hyun-guk and Park Jun-mo, pushing them into a more dangerous situation than ever before. However, Lee Hyun-suk rushed toward Park Jun-mo using his body to protect his teammate. Right after, Park Jun-mo didn't stay behind but leapt forward to take the blows for Lee Hyun-suk. Lee Hyun-suk immediately shouted, "Park Jun-mo, duck down!" Right after, Park Jun-mo quickly ducked down to avoid the danger. At that moment, a notification appeared showing information about a skill called Metal Control Metal Spike Weight. It can currently withstand up to 2,959 Gi. Notice the speed of the metal control is much faster than the current capability. Then Lee Hyun-woo made a move causing those swords to follow a different trajectory. Fortunately, those swords could no longer harm the two of them. The notification appeared again, warning that the M7 sword was out of control. The beast was still carefully observing the situation. Lee Hyun-guk paid more attention to this Lord Beast. He thought to himself, these damn monsters. So afterward, he took his gun, aimed straight at the Lord Beast, and fired. He thought the boss was commanding the Kobans to attack everyone according to its will. After the gunshot, the Lord Beast ran in another direction to dodge the bullet. Lee Hyun-guk thought if he kept attacking like this to scare it, it would buy more time for the others. Lee Hyun-guk still kept his gun aimed and seriously considered that taking Jun-mo to attack it would be too dangerous. Then Lee Hyun-guk loudly said to Park Jun-mo, "First fall back to the barrels, Dr. Jumbo." Hearing this, he replied, "Roger that," just waiting for his signal. Then Lee Hyun-guk grimaced and said, "What signal just run?" So Park Jun-mo ran behind and shouted loudly, "Private lie!" At that moment, the beasts all simultaneously blew their spikes at the two of them. Each one tried to blow as many spikes as possible. By then, the two had nearly reached the two barrels. The spikes were flying extremely fast toward them. When they reached the barrels, Park Jun-mo went behind one to block the spikes coming toward Lee Hyun-guk. He turned back and thought, metal control. Immediately, the spikes were pushed aside. At this moment, Lee Hyun-guk climbed over the barrel very swiftly. However, some strange symbols appeared behind Lee Hyun-guk, making him curiously look back to observe. The beast also turned its eyes toward Lee Hyun-guk and the glowing symbols. The Lord Beast looked extremely resentful and angry toward Lee Hyun-guk. He smiled, lightly sighed, and said, "Just a little late, but still nerve-wracking." However, at that moment, Lee Hyun-guk saw that the teammate who was injured earlier still hadn't been properly treated, and the sergeant was still holding her head in panic. Seeing him, one person looked up. Then the others immediately looked toward him as well. They called out, "Private Lee Hyun-guk." At that moment, Park Jun-mo turned his head worriedly and said, "Private Min Tai-an is unconscious already." Lee Hyun-guk frowned and said, "What are you talking about?" "We have the vice captain who is a medical officer here." Then he looked toward the vice captain and saw her trembling in fear. Lee Hyun-guk angrily shouted, "What are you doing?" "Private Min Tai-an is about to die." Then she turned her face up with tears streaming down behind her mask. Lee Hyun-guk thought to himself, "She's in an extreme panic, the only medical officer, and she's like this." Then his expression hardened, thinking, "Then the whole army is doomed." Then he shouted, "Sergeant Choi Sun-ha." Lee Hyun-guk didn't hold back and slapped her hard across the face. She held her cheek, tears still flowing, seemingly unable to react to what he just did. Everyone who heard turned around in shock. Lee Hyun-guk looked at her coldly and said, "Do you want to get us all killed? Calm down. We are in the middle of a battle. Are you planning to live with regret for the rest of your life?" Choi Sun-ha covered her mouth in shock as she looked at him. Lee Hyun-guk spoke carefully. "Do you know how terrifying it is to live with regret?" He struggled to say these words. You also furrowed your brows, both angry and sad. Choi Sun-ha looked at him with tears streaming down her face. Hyun-guk raised her hand as if about to say something. Rays of light rolled down and the monsters from afar stared at it intently. Hyun-guk's shadow was faint in the distance, standing next to Sun-ha holding a book in one hand and casting a healing spell on the motionless person below with the other. Hyun-guk stood beside her and asked the deputy squad leader, "How is it?" Sun-ha responded with a slight tremble, "It's too late. There's a lot of blood already." She seemed to gather courage and shouted, "But I won't give up." Hyun-guk smiled reassuringly, "Thank you." Then he turned to those nearby and took their knives. "Lend me your knives." Curly-haired, surprisedly, asked Sergeant Lai Hyun-guk, "Could it be that you're angry Gritting his teeth, he said, "You have to give back what you've taken, right?" A car sped down the road. At the same time, the person inside the car was talking. "Oh, that's interesting. Really? I know now." Done. A beautiful hand pressed to end the call. A giant spider perched on her shoulder looked terrifying. The girl lazily curled her lips and said, "Looks like I need to go comfort someone at Itaewon." Hyun-guk's silhouette appeared faintly. He controlled several knives piercing through the fog straight ahead. The monsters from afar followed closely. Suddenly, an X marked with tape appeared at his feet. Monsters wielding swords surrounded him. On their backs, they carried tanks that sprayed toxic gas. Green gas spread everywhere, making it suffocating. Hyun-guk raised his hand. The knives flew in circles around him. A female warrior peeked her head out from behind a barrier. The other monsters, as if hearing a command, raised their axes and advanced toward Hyun-guk. He bowed his head. The knives hovered around him, ready to strike at any moment. The prey voluntarily entered the best hunting spot. Hyun-guk glanced and smiled. "Isn't it wonderful? I marked and set sensors at the spots I wanted." A map appeared in his mind at the center of this place. The margin of error was a part of Area A commanded by the deputy squad leader. The leader would control from behind. Hyun-guk closed his eyes tightly, his brow furrowed. "As long as I find it, this game will end." Hyun-guk whispered in his mind, scanning for metal everywhere. Immediately, traces of searching appeared. If there is any metal I don't know about outside Area A. The images of monsters hiding behind wooden crates were all seen by Hyun-guk. An idea suddenly came to Hyun-guk's mind. He immediately opened his eyes. The knives pointed outwards, detecting directions all around. A notification panel appeared with skill info name Metal Control. Mana usage efficiency for controlling metal. If metal is absorbed, the controllability increases. The current controllable metal weight is 2959 G. Hyun-guk charged at Akoblos with his sword, astonishing it. The knives weaved through obstacles and stabbed the hiding monsters. They moved swiftly from one to another. At this moment, a knife also flew toward the female warrior. He raised his hand to cast a spell. A red circle appeared on his palm and flames burned above his head. Black wisps entered the knife. The circle grew larger. Black and green gases clashed. Hyun-guk glanced sideways. He suddenly shouted, "Here!" The swords quickly flew toward that direction. The female warrior growled and shouted loudly. The flames above her head burned fiercer. Hyun-guk's eyes widened in shock, his face darkened. The black strands wrapped around all the swords. The female warrior looked at him with a triumphant smile. Hyun-guk clenched his fists tightly. He angrily swung his move and shouted, "You bastard, drop my knife now!" At this moment, a notification appears about the skill information name Metal Control. The weight of metal that can be controlled currently is 2.959 grams. Warning: M7 unit has a weight exceeding the controllable limit. Hyun-guk looks at the notification angrily. It hasn't decreased yet, is that not allowed? At that moment, the marks on the heads of the monsters earlier lit up. They blew darts from bamboo tubes, then charged straight at Hyun-guk. He didn't have time to defend. Just when he glanced back, there were already thousands of arrows there. Hyun-guk panicked and hastily raised his hand to block. Arrows were flying in from all directions. Hyun-guk only managed to cover his face with his hand, unable to do anything else. The monsters watched from within the mist. The kobo increased the size of the circle even more. At the same time, they threw the knives back down. They clattered on the ground. That guy raised one hand, then lowered it, pointing forward. The monsters immediately charged toward Hyun-guk upon hearing the command. But now Hyun-guk's hands were deeply pierced by many arrows. He gritted his teeth, thinking he would be hit like in his past life. Hyun-guk stood up and raised both hands. The arrows quickly fell to the ground. Hyun-guk looked at his arms, thinking, if it weren't for that body strengthening. The knives that had fallen suddenly flew up. They spun as they moved toward the designated spot. Hyun-guk's face darkened, gritted teeth. "You fools!" The knives flew forward. At his feet, the monsters were running up. The talisman surrounding Hyun-guk was truly furious. He shouted for them to disappear. The spinning knives quickly sliced down monster after monster. The sword strikes formed a huge storm. The whirlwind sucked everything inside. The wind rose across the area. The brothers stood in a stance, covering their faces with both hands. Kobo was surprised. The brothers suddenly called him Kobo, the dark magic sorcerer. An Yen grinned, pointing, "Time to pay you back." The sky whipped into a fierce whirlwind, but despite his pressure, Lee Hyun-guk remained steadfast, unafraid to taunt him more. "Dark magic sorcerer Kobo, it's time to settle the score. Listen up." He clenched his teeth and attacked Nam Chung with his golden hand. Nam Chung was not shaken in the slightest. He shouted loudly, "No matter how fierce you are, it won't work." Although almost scolded by the squad members, he continued to taunt him. "Do you know how much effort I had to put in just to face you?" At the same time, an idea to activate the metal control skill formed in his mind. Looking at the situation, he thought if he carelessly swung his sword like before, he'd be caught off guard. He must attack carefully. After watching for a while, he noticed the other didn't react. Nam Chung felt a bit suspicious inside, but wondered why he wasn't moving. At that moment, the cunning one activated a series of red-colored powers aimed at Nam Chung's legs to bind him, then knocked him down. But Nam Chung was no pushover. He dodged with agility. Seeing this, the other grew even more furious and crazily shouted, "You damn rat!" Lee Hyun-guk wasn't messing around either. His voice was icy cold. "You think you're funny?" At that moment, his feet were also strengthened into iron and steel. "The game's just getting started." Nam Chung frowned, his voice full of anger. "How many times today have you given me psychological trauma?" The two sides began to fiercely fight again. The cunning one attacked from behind Nam Chung. This move made Lee Hyun-guk even angrier. "Dare to stab me in the back. Do you know how dangerous I become when stabbed from behind?" When Nam Chung got angry, a lowly villain like him couldn't stand a chance. Lee Hyun-guk quickly grabbed his horn and dealt him a painful blow. "Now that your body strengthened, get ready." As he spoke, he kept punching and kicking. The other was thrown far away. Seeing him lying helpless on the ground, he couldn't help but feel satisfied, saying, "I've been thinking about this moment of revenge against backstabbers like you since the first night after regression. You're the first one among them, so consider it an honor." Just looking at how fierce the Dark Mage used to be, and now struggling like this, he couldn't help but mock, saying the mask is broken now, so you can't use magic anymore. "Then let's start a proper fight between you and me, shall we?" Saying that, he launched a series of attacks at him. He was so hit that he could only tremble on the ground. Nam Chin couldn't possibly let him off that easily. He shouted again, asking if beating him like that wasn't enough. At that moment, he grabbed him coldly, drew the sword from his back, and said, "Because of people like you, I had to live like a cripple for years, you know that too. The swords that just stabbed you earlier belong to the teammates you killed in your past life, and this one." At that moment, a memory flooded back the image of his close comrade, Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk. "Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk, are you okay?" Had to use a gas mask. Finally, he coldly said this strike was revenge, the price for Park Jun-mo's life, who died trying to save me. The Dark Mage Kobao was stabbed just like that. At this point, the system displayed information about an item named Cloud Sword. Cloud Sword is absorbing the life force of the Eli monster. An unknown energy source is filling Cloud Sword by 1%. However, Nam Chin couldn't allow the one who dared stab him in the back to die so easily. He frantically shouted, "Don't die yet, there's more," and said finally, "This is the price for the scar on my face." Without another word, he swung his sword straight at its face. The system then announced 4 item info entries about Cloud Sword. The unknown energy source was filling the Cloud Sword up to 11%. After being filled with the unknown energy, the latent power within Cloud Sword would be unlocked. In this way, Nam Chin felt a bit relieved. Finally, the first knot in the past that caused Min so much pain was changed. Leaving the battlefield, Lee Hyun-guk couldn't help but be surprised. The system announced it had received the Inferno Devil Medal, a medal of hellfire hiding the power of the demon race. It's one of the high-level items on the Holy Medal chain list. Looking at what was in front of him, he was stunned and thought, "Why are you here?" The Devil Medal is the item of that guy. His undead army is like hell to the living. One of humanity's most terrifying figures, the Necromancer. Nam Chin was a bit intrigued, thinking, although he hadn't discovered anything clear about him yet, he knew he had a non-growth trait like himself. Because of him, ever since the reset, I've had to hide the truth that even though I'm rank F, I can still grow stronger. A non-growth trait means developing in a unique way specific to that person, not through training and fighting. In the past life, after finishing the fierce battle with him barely winning at the Golem workshop, the best thing I got was just the Inferno replica. Replica means a replica item. The more I thought, the more confused I got. So why is there a real item here this time? What else don't I know? At that moment, a teammate shouted, "Oh my God, the poison gas is clearing." Seeing the situation change, he immediately put the stone in his mouth, planning to eat it first. Just eat it. But then a voice rang out, "Lee Hyun-guk, who exactly are you?" Looking at the girl pointing a sword at him. He couldn't help but feel a bit worried inside. Damn, how much do you think she saw in the battle just now? Another female voice spoke up. I'm very impressed with your battle. She confidently approached Nam Chin and said, Nice to meet you, Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk. I'm Catherine I.U., head of the Seoul Strategy Department of the Chinese Guild. Lee Hyun-suk and Lieutenant Seo Eun-ha pointed swords at Hyun-suk. Around them was a quiet scene, a chaotic mess of scattered corpses. Thick, poisonous gas mixing with the air created an unpleasant sight. Then Seo Eun-ha said solemnly, Loyal Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk. Who are you? Hyun-guk quickly hid the medal in the back pocket of his pants, but Seo Eun-ha still saw it. She asked Hyun-guk, What are you hiding? Hyun-guk cursed silently in his heart, damn it, but outwardly he still looked innocent. He held out both hands in front of his chest as if to say he didn't understand what Seo Eun-ha was saying. A sense of unease stirred inside Hyun-guk. He was afraid he had been discovered. What had she seen amid the tense atmosphere between the two? A man with a red sword pointed at a man in blue. A woman approached with a spider-like apparatus on her shoulder wearing an office dress and a gas mask. She broke the suffocating silence with a few claps. It took some time to get here because it was far. Hyun-guk's pupils contracted, and he furrowed his brow in surprise when he saw the woman's face. Seo Eun-ha answered, I am the Combat Battalion Commander of Company 1 Brigade 3. This is a military combat zone. Civilians are not allowed to enter. The woman ignored Seo Eun-ha and stepped forward to approach Hyun-guk private. You're here. Nice to meet you. I'm Catherine I.U. Seoul Strategic Department head of the Chinese Guild. The woman handed out her business card wearing a smug expression as she introduced herself. But Hyun-guk didn't take the card and just stood still. I.U. Hana raised an eyebrow in confusion. Could it be you don't know me? Hearing the question, Hyun-guk bit his lower lip bitterly. How could I not know you? Among the villains who destroyed humanity, I can't forget that girl. Hyun-guk recalled a scene from before his reincarnation, the image of a strong Seo Eun-ha standing tall to keep him awake. Go. You have to live, Hyun-guk shouted. Seo Eun-ha, get out of the way. What are you doing? No, I will be your shield. Seo. Eun-ha's eyes welled with tears, but she remained firm in her decision. Lee Hyun-suk. I'm your first life shield. Then Seo Eun-ha died, her pitiful body swarmed by insects on a rock under the blazing red moonlight. The figure of a woman appeared. The woman who killed Seo Eun-ha was Yoo-hee-na. Ending the flashback, Yoo-hee-na's voice pulled Hyun-guk back to reality so you don't realize this is a big opportunity right in front of you. Hyun-guk clenched his fists tightly, trying to stay calm. Seo Eun-ha, probably annoyed by Yoo-hee-na's appearance, spoke up to chase her away. This is a military combat zone. Please leave. To Hana. Hana sighed. What's the problem? Don't soldiers usually address each other by rank? You should call me Seoul Strategic Department head of the Chinese Guild. A silent war broke out between the two women, leaving Hyun-guk caught in the middle. What this atmosphere is terrifying. A car arrived. Lieutenant Colonel Kim Kang-seok stepped out diagonally. Loyal Lieutenant Seo Eun-ha, company commander. Wait. Kim Kang-seok glanced right to see a pile of bodies scattered, then glanced left to see a sword stabbed into the monster's chest. Hyun-guk broke out in cold sweat all over. Kang-seok's terrifying scowl deepened with anger, sending a chill down Hyun-guk's spine. Kang-seok raised his deep, rough voice. Hello, Seoul Strategic Department head, long time no see. Yes, company commander. Are you well? We truly appreciate the Chinese Guild's support, but this is a military combat zone. Even though you're from the Chinese Guild, unauthorized entry into the combat zone without consent will cause trouble. Please leave. Hana sighed in frustration, so strict as if no one knows I'm a soldier. So rigid. I was about to have a serious talk. You. Hana left a lipstick mark on her business card, then dropped it onto Hyun-guk. It's a bit troublesome, but Private Lee Hyun-suk, you must get in touch with me. Then Hana turned and left. Kim Kang-seok called Hyun-guk's name. Private Lee Hyun-guk, yes. Private Lee Hyun-guk, from now on you will be the squad leader for combat training at Kobol Port. Your top priority is ensuring survivors and recruiting new members for Company 1. Hyun-guk frowned. What exactly is the company commander thinking? Kang-seok continued. After all the reports here are completed, everything will be handed over to you, Private Lee Hyun-suk, to handle. Understood. Seo Eun-ha turned to look at Hyun-guk. Their eyes met, sending a shiver through him. So temporarily out of danger, huh? 1 week later, at the 1st Company of the 3rd Demon Extermination Brigade, Hyun-guk's system screen notified that the Inferno Demon's metal had finished absorbing metal. The controllable metal weight increased by 499 Gs. The total controllable metal weight is now 458 Gs. Loud noises in the men's restroom. The system sends a pre-warning a space is forming in the stomach at 1% caution. You may feel extreme pain. Hyun-guk clutches his chest, leaning on the toilet, fire coming out of his mouth. He grumbles even after going through this once my body is still weak, so the pain feels much more intense. Private First Class Lee Hyun-guk hears someone call his name. Then, Park Jun-mo enters the restroom. Sergeant Park Jun-mo leans his ear against the restroom door watching something interesting all alone. Hyun-guk struggles to say, "I'm not slacking off, let me see it too." Hyun-guk's eyes light up like car headlights literally shining brightly throughout the restroom. Told you no. Scene shifts to a deserted gate that everyone ignores and underestimates its danger. In the end, there were many casualties. Fortunately, thanks to the efforts of Corporal Choi Son-ha, Private An Min-tae, in critical condition, was safely transferred to the military hospital. Because of this, I gave up the thought that I could protect everyone alone. Members of the support squad have started training to strengthen themselves so they can at least protect themselves. However, two issues arose. Lee Hyun-suk, after that day, Corporal Choi Son-ha started bothering me. Private First Class, Lee Hyun-suk, Deputy Squad Leader. What do you need from me? This place has too many variables to proceed as planned. Second issue. Private First Class Lee Hyun-guk, please accept the officer position instead of deputy officer. Kang Seok gives Hyun-guk a stern, frightening look. Hyun-guk remains silent. Now nothing surprises me anymore. Captain Kim Kwang-sok paid attention to me during the Itaewon operation. The ambition to create an ideal military culture without rank distinctions. Hyun-guk's inner voice screams, "Why force me to do what I don't want?" Hyun-suk replies calmly, "I'll think about it during my leave." 3 weeks later, the weather on the day of leave is very nice. On the first day of leave, a dazzling light emitted from a restroom. The system sends notification, "Congratulations, you have met the special condition and acquired a new skill. Skill info, skill name. Fire Flame Grade D effect, a metallurgical furnace absorbs metal 50% to approximately 250% faster than a yang. The higher the furnace's efficiency, the more intense the body pain. 2 metal breath. Part of the metal can be stored in a storage space and released to cause heavy damage of 3 kilograms per use. If the hidden condition is met, the skill level will increase. 3 Hyun-suk sits wearily in the restroom. Now I will digest everything faster and won't have to cling to the toilet so much. Changing clothes. Hyun-suk stands admiring himself in the mirror. The next fight with the monsters will be tougher. I'll have to be careful. Hyun-suk recalls a scene. What do you mean you'll abandon Seoul Station? A crowd of cameras and camcorders aimed at a military soldier and the government officials. Please clarify your stance. Will you abandon the people at Seoul Station? The soldier listens silently to the reporter's criticism with his head bowed. Help me, let me go. Help me, save me. The desperate pleas from the people at Gaeun are etched in Hyun-guk's memory. Hyun-suk continues to think, if not, I could die just like that. I have to prepare everything for this leave. This is the moment to change the future. Hyun-suk strides out the door confidently. Suddenly, a familiar voice reaches his ear. Hyun-suk, how long has it been since you had leave? Wow, military life is so exhausting. That's Sergeant Choi Son-ha. Why aren't you smoking? Choi Son-ha and Hyun-suk immediately recognize each other. Lee Hyun-suk, you want to smoke? The deputy squad leader, Choi Seong-ha, is surprisingly smoking by the roadside. Judging by that expression, it's clear this isn't the first time. At this moment, the hot scene of Choi Seong-ha is fully in Lee Hyun-guk's line of sight. When two people suddenly realize they might have revealed their true selves in front of others, the atmosphere immediately becomes strangely silent. After a while on the tracks, the train is speeding toward the destination like your ex turning against you. Inside, Choi Seong-ha and Lee Hyun-guk still seem hesitant about the earlier situation, looking as if they've wandered into a silent land. Both want to start a conversation to break this silence. Choi Seong-ha seems like the one who will speak first as he glances at Lee Hyun-guk wearing a smiling mask. Choi Seong-ha waves and asks, Hyun-guk, is this the first time in a long while you've had a vacation like this? Your parents must be very happy. Lee Hyun-suk replies sternly, both my parents are no longer alive. They passed away when I was very young. This leaves Choi Seong-yeon stunned. She keeps silent inside, perhaps reflecting on Lee Hyun-suk's family background. Lee Hyun-suk glances at Choi Seung-yeon, seeing she looks guilty, then smiles reassuringly that he's fine. Though childhood was tough and lonely after growing up, he gained relatives who are like family now. Choi Seung-ha curiously asks, "Who are these relatives like family to you?" The story returns to the past. This captain is a strong leader. We are waiting for him. Everyone he loves is looking toward him. Lee Hyun-suk wonders if these are colleagues or comrades. Thinking this, he looks out the window and gives a faint smile, feeling comrades is more accurate. Finally, the train arrives at Yeondampo Station. Looking around, Lee Hyun-suk reminds himself these 4 days and 3 nights of a short vacation. I need to prepare well for the future, and the first thing to prepare is money. Looking at the billboard, Lee Hyun-suk falls into thought supporting our players. These words make Lee Hyun-suk frown deeply. The owner of Blue Chi, who possesses assets worth thousands of billions. Currently, Gordon Brassi's dirty money flows secretly below to bribe high-ranking officials and players to trade demon items, gradually helping him gain total control over everything. There are many reasons to sell your soul to demons, but the most important is still money. Though not able to earn as much as Gordon Brady at least, I must ensure I don't get caught up in his money game. I know big events will happen in the future and know every time and place to make money. Meaning if I invest earlier than others, I can still make huge profits even with little capital. So when investing, I need someone I can absolutely trust who will never betray me. I must entrust someone who will keep their word no matter how small the promise. Lee Hyun-suk has arrived near his destination and hears a heated argument. "Oh no, damn it, are you crazy? Don't make me have to run outside and hit you." Inside, it turns out there's a quarrel between 2 brothers. That thing, Won-chun, you know about it too. That guy doesn't really have many trusts. No, I don't need to know that. If there's protection from above, isn't it enough for you to just do some small tasks and get a little... But even so, it's something I have to put effort into. It's not like I'm just sitting around, oh, seriously, having to be security for the trust event is really embarrassing. The knock on the door immediately draws their attention. "Come in." Won-jun lets go and steps forward. "Hey, dumb pilot. How long has it been? I heard you're awakened, and so am I. My name is Lee Won-jun. Nice to meet you, buddy." Lee Hyun-guk smiles and replies, "Yeah, nice to meet you too," then returns to a cold expression. We're not close enough for such greetings, and with that he brushes past him. "Long time no see. Yeah, it's been a while, Hyun-suk." What are you trying to do? Lee Hyun-suk's actions so far make Won-chun lose his temper. "Hey, you ate and forgot all the past, seeing me happily welcome you. You've forgotten all the past. Need me to help you remember? Going back to the past and stuff, is that all? Don't joke around. Show us your real ability then. If that's all you have, I could also be awakened." "Hey, Won-chun, why the hell are you frowning? What awakening are you talking about? You're clearly useless." Saying that, he lunged at Lee Hyun-guk with a punch, showing just a bit of power like a lunatic, and he dares to call himself an awakened. If you dare go around bragging that you're awakened, you'll be dead meat with me. Back in reality, Won-jun acted like he was about to attack someone. That dumb pilot guy actually has some guts now, huh? Lee Won-jun, an S-rank player with the warrior trait in the guild, hopes to loudly threaten so he can play with you like back in school. "Let me make you beg for mercy like back then." With a gentle face, Won-chun called out to him every day, asking him to stop. Won-chun stubbornly considered himself the strongest, threw him aside, and shouted that if he didn't want to get beaten. Finally, Lee Hyun-suk left to the side. At that moment, Lee Hyun-suk finally spoke up and told him to just kill him. The 2 on the other side looked at him in surprise. Lee Hyun-suk's cold gaze repeated, telling Won-chun to just go ahead and kill him. This hit his nerve, and he immediately charged at him, cursing him a bastard. It seemed like he used all his strength to hit Lee Hyun-suk, but he still stood motionless, as if Won-jun's punch couldn't hurt him even a little. Just as his ugly fist was about to hit Lee Hyun-guk, he suddenly froze. It turned out Lee Hyun-guk had controlled a sharp pen and stabbed it right near his eye. The sword was ready to pin his foot to the floor. His entire body was surrounded by sharp weapons. Lee Hyun-guk's voice was calm, saying he wouldn't kill him today, but could at least leave some wounds at his weak spots. As a close combat warrior, ending a player's life was pretty easy for Lee Hyun-guk. Won-chun gritted his teeth, clearly dissatisfied. His underling ran in, telling him to hurry if he wanted to make it in time for the event. Seeing this, the underling was confused, asking what was going on for them to be fighting like that. Immediately, Won-chun switched to acting mode, apologized, and promised he'd be more careful next time. After saying that, he hugged Won-chun affectionately, making him confused. Lee Hyun-guk quietly threatened Won-jun, saying he knew he got kicked out of the White Tiger Guild because he wet himself during the first battle. "What's going on, Lee Won-jun? Get back to your position right now. You bastard, are you just going to run away like that?" Now Won-chun nervously asked how he knew that. Lee Hyun-guk didn't explain much, just reminded him that he knew a lot more. He also reminded him that if he wanted his underlings to know how he acted when facing a forest-level monster, while Lee Hyun-guk was still merciful and saved his face, he should get out of here fast. Finally, after the earlier fight, the house returned to its usual peaceful state. On the table were 3 books. "Hyun-guk, is what you said really true? Will the stock really increase that much?" Lee Hyun-suk said nothing but stayed silent as if confirming it. If that's really the case, then it's truly life-changing. At the event venue, June was complaining about having to stand guard for so long. Didn't he deserve to raid a dungeon at least once? He gritted his teeth and scowled. His underling asked him why he was like that. Before he could answer, a voice shouted, "Oh my God, the boss is complaining again! How can the security service be this bad?" In such a solemn place, someone was causing trouble. Approaching Won-chun, he warned, "You guys aren't the owners here, okay? This is Area C, A, B, C, D for VIPs. Don't you understand English? I've told you many times. Even if you don't learn, at least get used to hearing it." Won-chun's hero blood boiled. He punched this guy so hard he flew all the way to Singapore. Seeing him fly so far, the underlings couldn't believe it. He actually dared to beat up the boss, leaving him a bloody mess. The other guards with him didn't dare intervene, fearing the same fate as their boss. After venting his anger, he slowly stood up. He ordered his underlings to gather information about a certain person, specifically Lee Hyun-guk. His eyes were like a wild wolf plotting revenge. It seems Lee Hyun-guk has just made another sworn enemy. Looking at the information on his phone, he couldn't help but be amazed and exclaimed that this was truly a life-changing opportunity. After a while, Cho-soo finally sighed and said, "Hyun-guk, I'm sorry, but I heard that." Hyun-suk anticipated this and thought to himself that his reaction was understandable. Suddenly, someone saying they would help them earn enough money to change their lives. Who would believe that? At this moment, Park Cho-soo asked them, "You even provided such detailed information, and yet you gave it to me." Hearing that, Hyun-suk smiled and handed him his savings book, saying, "I entrust all of my assets to you. Please invest on my behalf. 20 million won isn't a large sum, but it's the inheritance my parents left me." Park Cho-soo couldn't help but feel anxious. "Do you really trust me? Thank you." Recalling the past, Park Cho-soo patted Hyun-guk on the shoulder to comfort him during his despair. "Hyun-guk, no one is talentless. Talent used in this era is called ability. Don't blame yourself. One day our abilities will be recognized. Keep trying." Hyun-guk thought silently this was a profitable investment, as well as a repayment to the only man who had given him warmth and kindness when he once felt useless. "He has helped me so much in the future. Humanity will realize the existence of otherworldly realms and will initiate dialogue with them using technology obtained from encounters with those outer world regions. The Dungeon Gate War will undergo a major turning point. Their technology is essential to prevent gate explosions and the monster waves that will appear in the future. To achieve that, humanity must communicate with those from other worlds and learn skills and technology from them. To do so, I need experts to help me." At this moment, Hyun-suk pointed to the magic stone and asked the shop owner, "How much is this magic stone?" Hearing that the man asked, "How much will you pay?" "This is the Yeondong Po Forge Alley." Hyun-suk thought silently, preparing for the second step towards the future. Hyun-suk then entered a shop and said, "Hello, shop owner." The man was a little surprised, then focused back on his work while saying, "I only sell what's available in the shop. If something's not here, try looking around the other shops." This person was none other than the blacksmith Kang Lee Gudu. Due to his hot temper, he was kicked out of the blacksmith guild and faced financial difficulties. Faced with the man's gruff attitude, Hyun-suk was a bit surprised. "Huh? Yes." Thinking it over, he told himself investing in this man was worth it. Looking at what he was forging, he couldn't help but admire it. It was a spear made from ori chankon. Rough in appearance, but later it would be able to pierce the heart of the Taurus dragon, a dragon hunting spear. Now I know the origin and birthplace of the first-class equipment came from this shabby forge. At this moment, a girl entered and asked, "Oh, do you have customers?" Hearing that, Kang Leader Do angrily scolded, "Hey kid, what kind of customer are you talking about?" The girl didn't hesitate to argue back, "You have customers every day, so why are you scolding me?" Seeing who had arrived, Hyun-guk smiled and thought silently, "Long time no see, my comrade, the famous blacksmith Kang Baekseol." Speaking of Kang Baekseol, 4 years later after Kang leader Do passed away, she inherited all his skills and became an excellent blacksmith. At this moment, she was seriously checking the prices of Hyun-guk's branded goods. A long coat costing 150,000 won, high boots, 160,000 won. Finally, she couldn't hold back and shouted, "Oh my God, not just a customer, but a VIP customer. Tell me what you're looking for, haha." Seeing this, Hyun-guk couldn't help but laugh. Money really opens eyes. Indeed, a short guy. Anyway, I've succeeded in attracting attention. Now can I make my request? Kang Baek joyfully shouted, "That totals 18 million won? Owner, not customer, what the heck?" Kang Yong-do frowned and asked, "Just looking at you, it's obvious you're not a mage. Why would you buy toxic magic metals that can't be processed and midran alloy stones, trying to launder money?" Kang Baek, already bought off by money, immediately came to cover up. "Don't say that he'll find a use for it. If he buys it, he'll know how to use it." Hearing that the man could only sigh and say, "All right," at that moment, Hyun-guk also turned and said, "Next time we meet, please visit me more often." Hyun-guk thought to himself, "Sorry for not being like the other comrades. I have to drag you back to the battlefield once again." At this time, Kang Baek, unaware of anything, bowed casually to Hyun-guk like a distinguished guest. "See you next time." In Hyun-guk's heart, he was determined, "This time I will definitely protect you." Night fell like darkness about to engulf all humanity. Hyun-guk, alone in his room, thought, "Before the holiday ends, I need to improve my ability to control the metal weight so that I can thereby increase my body's toxin resistance through the absorption mechanism." Absorbing toxic metals. Time remaining to absorb metal, 19 seconds. You have absorbed toxic metal. After absorption, toxin resistance will increase slightly. Hyun-guk thought, "Normally this would take that much time, but now I have the forge's breath inside my body." At this moment, the system displayed skill information Forge Breath. Because the forge is active, the metal absorption efficiency increases by 250%. Warning accompanied by intense pain. In the end, Hyun-guk couldn't help but squeeze his eyes shut. The veins on his body bulged. Along with the pain, the system's repeated alerts made Hyun-guk shout, "Be quiet, I know already." He thought, "I don't have much time to reach Seoul Station before the incident happens. You must absorb all of this." Lee Hyun-guk endured on. 2 days later, a thug pointed toward Hyun-guk's house and said, "Boss is here? That brat has done nothing and still hasn't shown his face outside for 2 days. At this time, the system continuously warned, "Warning, you have been poisoned by multiple toxins. Starting stage 2 of toxin resistance at 81%. You have absorbed all the required metal. Controllable metal weight is now 17,499 g. Metal detection ability increased. Can detect 500 grams of metal at 135 meter distance." After absorbing everything, Hyun-guk thought stage 2 of the toxin resistance process is easier than I expected. The controllable weight is enough to control about 60 throwing knives. At this moment, the system sound rang out again. Congratulations on successfully completing your first potential breakthrough and gaining a special skill. Skill information, broken metal grade D concentrates mana to destroy a certain amount of metal. Mana consumption depends on the amount of metal the skill is applied to. Metal destruction skill. Hyun-guk thought, "This skill can help me dismantle enemy equipment. Just having this skill is enough to break the enemy's defense." At this moment, Hyun-guk sensed danger. He frowned and looked toward the opposite side. As expected, the door was being destroyed by a madman. The man said with a mocking face, "Huh, this bastard isn't surprising after all. What's up, hiding?" Hyun-guk replied disdainfully. "Hey, since I'm a soldier, I'm very limited in fighting, so it's better if you just leave." Hearing this, he sneered coldly, "Damn it! I'm about to beat you to a pulp and you still have the nerve to talk back." Then he charged to attack, but Hyun-guk just dodged. However, despite his attacks, Hyun-guk remained calm throughout. He gently blocked them, making the attacker somewhat incredulous, exclaiming, "What the hell are you?" Hyun-guk said coldly, "Get out if you keep causing trouble, it will affect others." Meanwhile, neighbors next door were also frantically talking, "What's going on?" Another gate outbreak, so annoying. "Where's the security?" He grew even angrier and shouted, "You bastard, keep acting cocky in front of me." Hyun-guk refused to back down and responded, 2 days ago you might have had some trouble with me, but not today, Lee Won-chun. I'll ask you something. Compared to what I've done to you, this is nothing. I don't think it's that serious, so why do you have to go this far? Got punched by me once and you can't brag anymore. Lee Won-chun, feeling insulted, immediately shouted, Don't look at me with that gaze, you bastard. Then he didn't hide his strength and activated his skill. Watching this, Hyun-guk frowned and loudly warned, If you use skills here, you'll hurt civilians. He stubbornly refused to back down and said, Those bastards deserve to die. What do I care about them? Hearing that, Hyun-guk could only grit his teeth and curse the madman silently. His target is me. Could it be that this is the only way to minimize the destruction to the building? Saying that, he rushed toward the window. Seeing him run away, he quickly shouted, Where are you running off to? Just like that, the two sides rushed out of the building and began using their skills. Lee Won-chun shouted, "Di Lee Hyung-suk." The two sides started a fierce battle, causing a huge explosion. Lee Won-chun yelled, "Di Lee Hyung-suk." Meanwhile, Hyun-suk was activating his body enhancement combo skills. Watching this scene, Lee Won-chun was astonished. He changed the attack direction mid-air. Hyun-suk thought to himself, maybe in my past life I couldn't move this freely, but by combining moves I can easily control my body now. Still, Lee Won-chun was no ordinary opponent. Proudly, he said, "Looks like you've learned a few tricks in the military, but these petty moves won't work here." People inside the building were also panicking. What the hell is going on? Weren't those people awakened? Annoyed by Hyun-suk's attitude, Lee Won-chun said, "Are you just going to keep dodging like a scared rat? Try charging at me like before. Come on, you bastard!" The two continued their fight. At this point, the civilians noticed something was wrong and warned each other. "Don't go down to the first floor. It seems like fake awakened ones are causing chaos down there. I already reported to the association. Let's wait a bit longer." Facing Lee Won-chun's fierce attack, he could only helplessly think many civilians are watching this. Being a military officer, I can't fight back. If this blows up, it could ruin my plan to participate in breaking through the dungeon gate at Seoul Station. Seeing civilians filming, Lee Won-chun became even more confident. Hey, is it because so many eyes are on me that you don't dare to strike? Fine, then we just need to get out of this mess. Saying that, he directly activated his power to destroy everyone around here. Seeing this, Hyun-guk quickly intervened and cursed, "Damn it, are you trying to collapse the whole building? Don't you see there are innocent civilians here? Those people have nothing to do with me." Lee Won-chun coldly said, "Nothing to do with you? Of course they do. You and those damn trash bags dare to piss me off. If you want to stop me, move your dog body here and block this move." Watching this, Hyun-guk couldn't hold back frowning and shouting, "You idiot! I'll make you regret it." Without hesitation, he activated his power to destroy Lee Won-chun's equipment. At that moment, the system announced the skill info Iron Fist. Skill name and effect consumes mana to crush a certain amount of metal. The mana consumption varies depending on the amount of metal the skill needs to crush. After what seemed like an intense fight, Hyun-guk remained calm as usual. Meanwhile, Lee Won-chun, having his equipment destroyed, screamed in pain. "Blood all over my leg, you dog. What did you do to me? Don't come near me." Hyun-guk looked at his pitiful cries and coldly said, "I'll ask you one last time. Why did you go this far?" Hearing this, he gritted his teeth and shouted in pain, "What nonsense are you talking about now? Those damn flies and mosquitoes bothered me, so I had to kill them all, didn't I?" Hearing that, he sternly said, "Understood. No wonder a filthy rat like you got kicked out of the wild wolf pack. Bullies like you, obsessed with false pride, don't deserve to be players." At the same time, he silently added that bullies always end up as traitors because it hits the core truth. So he retorted, "What can a stupid prisoner like you do anyway? Stop acting tough." But Hyun-guk didn't want to waste any more time on such a fool. He directly pointed and activated his power to threaten him. "Hey, Lee Won-chun, don't ever show up in front of me again. If you dare, I'll cut off both your legs." Regarding this action of his, he could only stand there in stunned silence. Hyun-guk reminded him once more, "You better thank Buddha and the heavens because I'm a soldier." He thought to himself, "That's right. I can't miss the chance to save my comrades and get revenge on a bastard like him who stole from me." Fortunately, the sky had lightened. At this moment, the brothers were seriously explaining to everyone in the awakened combat force, "I was simply trying to stop Lee Won-chun." But after hearing that, he seriously said, "Your testimony matches the witnesses. But this Lee Won-chun guy is pretty dangerous too. You're really lucky. Since becoming a police officer, this is the first time I've seen someone of your low rank fight someone higher up without a scratch. Hearing that, he could only force a smile. How strange. Fortunately, I survived because the copper pipe protector suddenly exploded. After a round of questioning, he waved his hand and said, "You're free to go now." Then Hwanguk gently said thank you. He thought to himself that he used to believe being a useless F-rank was a damn curse, but unexpectedly it helped him eliminate suspicion from those around him. At this moment, his assistant handed the investigation info to the team leader and said the senior might want to check if Lee Wan-chun's copper pipe protector has any durability issues, or if it was just a mana outburst. Hearing that, he frowned. "So you're saying an F-rank can destroy the armor of a C-rank player without any harm? That makes sense." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Hwanguk was rushing like the wind. He remembered when the news reported the latest update that the number of civilians who died trapped since 1524 at Seoul Gate today had reached 745, except for the first, second, and third waves of monsters. This is an unprecedented monster disaster worldwide. The Seoul Station disaster was increasing criticism toward the expert players and authorities. They were also questioning the limitations and core problems of the disaster warning response system for threats at the gates. Unlike the previous two gates, I didn't witness today's gate opening directly, so with limited info, there could be unexpected changes in the Monster Waves disaster. Seoul Station is one of the worst disasters. Can I handle it with my current abilities? Part of me wants to go there and quickly evacuate the people, but I can't do that. There's a traitor hiding here. If things get worse, he'll be on alert and escape. I'll never find a turning point to change the future. 2 minutes left. At this moment, a voice interrupted his thoughts. Lee Hwanguk. He turned around in surprise. The person who came was none other than loyal Deputy Squad Leader Sergeant Lee Hwanguk. I heard you had to go to the police station last night. The whole unit freaked out. Hearing that, he asked in surprise how she knew he was here. She scolded him. You said you had plans at Seoul Station the other day, so why didn't you answer me? He was a bit confused, frowning, thinking in his past life. Choi Sun-ha wasn't here. So why was she here now? In the end, he had to choose his words carefully. My phone was crushed. He secretly wondered if it was because he had changed the past. In the next minute, the worst gate on the planet would open. Hearing his explanation, Choi Sun-ha let it go. Fine, let's just say that's reasonable. Why did you have to go to the police station? Explain it to me. Seeing that Hwanguk felt a bit awkward. There's no time left. From now on, we have to stick to the plan. Seeing his indifferent attitude, she couldn't help but scold. Why don't you say anything? Hey, Lee Hyun-suk, seeing your strange behavior? She couldn't hold back and shouted, Are you crazy? Why did you suddenly throw this mess out like that? I asked you just now and you didn't answer, so what's this now? But Hwanguk didn't have much time to explain to her. He immediately said briefly, When I give the signal, you must run to find the gas mask right away. Hearing that, Choi Sun-ha couldn't help but feel a bit confused. At that moment, a crack suddenly appeared along with a fierce whirlwind. The monster also appeared immediately. He didn't say much more. He directly shouted, Right now outside the mother and child are talking. Mom is going in, you just go ahead. The girl frowned and asked, Why does Mom keep sending me away? I want to see Mom go first. The mother smiled. I'm just worried about you. The girl stubbornly asked, Aren't you sad? I don't even know when you'll come to visit me. The mother gently replied, Why would you say that? Suddenly, a barrier appeared. The girl cried out in alarm, Mom! 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 At this moment, the system announced a special event. An unfortunate event is happening in this area. You can enter but cannot escape. The level limit is level 15. To escape, survive for 6 hours or defeat the boss monster. The countdown clock also started ticking now. Hwanguk shouted urgently when I gave the signal, You must run to find the gas mask right away. The monster has appeared now. The crowd panicked and fled. Hwanguk hurriedly reminded Choi Sun-ha, the deputy squad leader, to prioritize evacuating the people. Remember to get the gas mask from the relief box, too. Seeing this, she hesitated a bit. I'm also a soldier. I won't leave you alone. Just tell me what needs to be done. I'll support you as much as I can. Finally, in an urgent situation, he couldn't help but raise his voice. Your specialty isn't fighting, so stay in the rear, focus on evacuating civilians and treating the wounded. Hearing that, Choi Sun-ha said seriously, I don't know what you're scheming, but I believe you have to survive this time. Hearing this, he smiled. Corporal Lee Hyun-guk understood. In another development, the major asked suspiciously, Do you really think so? Are you going to entrust a soldier, and one forced to be an officer at that? Hearing that, the captain responded without hesitation, reporting Major. I don't think a good officer would be hindered by the government's rigid hierarchy system. Hearing that, he glared and asked, "What?" The captain continued, "As you know, rank is not tied to the player's level. It's just basic data about combat effectiveness based on expectations of traits and compatibility with dungeon raids. Although levels usually increase with player progress on the battlefield, they are often underrated. The Player Training Center, all awakened Koreans are received here before joining 5. They are trained for about 2 months and classified by basic tests." Hearing that, he said coldly, "Kim Kang-seok, do you take me for a joke?" Monster Control Team. Major Choi Jong-cheon. Commander of the 3rd Hangma Brigade. A-rank player. 31 in Korea. Strategic weapon-level military strength, capable of deploying large area magic without support tools. Seeing his attitude, the captain seriously said, "I would never dare harm you." At this moment, the phone rang with a notification. He immediately picked up. "Yes, what's the matter?" On the other end, someone urgently replied, "Reporting, Major. I received information that a gate suddenly appeared in Battalion 1 area, but the location is Seoul Station. It is an unfortunate event. An unfortunate event is a natural disaster occurring in a specific area, creating resistance effects on players or adding rules to make missions harder. At this moment, people on site are trying to activate skills to defeat the monster, but it didn't affect it at all. Seeing the situation is bad." A soldier hurriedly asked the captain, "Captain, what are these spider monsters? I've never seen them in the manual before." The monster then appeared and ambushed him. Luckily, the captain rushed in. If he lost this one life, it would be over. Seeing this situation, Lee Man-ho couldn't help but exclaim, "Fire system attacks have no effect on them." It must be said that Lee Man-ho is a veteran-level C fighter, and also the captain of the Seoul Station 2 defense team. Finally, he shouted, "Everyone attack with ice magic targeting its legs. Switch to ice attacks." Finally, the monster is frozen. He thought silently, judging by its size, it probably won't last much longer. "We have to take advantage of this opportunity and attack with all our might." He loudly ordered, "Keep freezing it. Don't let it move." However, very quickly the monster broke free from the ice and turned to attack fiercely. This monster is called the Poison-Armored Spider. It has thick skin. Normal attacks can't hurt it. Right now, do I really have the strength to handle these guys? Is 2 days of preparation enough? There's no more time to hesitate. Huynguk calmly stepped in front of the monster and unleashed a skill. It's time to test the D-grade crushing skill. Mana consumption efficiency for crushing a certain amount of metal. Mana consumption varies depending on the amount of metal the skill is applied to. At this moment, the system announced a warning: your mana is decreasing very fast. 76% remaining. With this skill, he could stand alone and hold off the monster. With this strength, I will block the disaster at this gate. Not only that, I can also claim all the rewards alone after clearing all the monsters at this gate. Huynguk laughed naturally and loudly screamed some more. "I'll send you off with just one punch to see how tough you really are, Iron Wheel. How does it feel to have your guts crushed?" Just like that, the monster that was rampaging before now collapsed to the ground. Looking at this, Captain Lee Man-hwa couldn't help but be amazed, thinking no way he defeated a monster alone while no one on our team could even touch it. I've witnessed countless raids, but never seen someone so relaxed facing something like this. Could this be some little-known S-rank power that even a shadowy figure has noticed everything? He couldn't help but curse, "Who the hell is this guy? You're messing with me?" At this moment, Captain Lee Man-wo trembled and asked, "Huynguk, I'm Lee Man-wo of the Seoul Station 2 defense team. May I ask if you are an S-rank player?" Then Huynguk calmly said, "Not done yet." Hearing that, he asked, puzzled, "Huh?" Huynguk continued, "This is just the first one." At that moment, another group of monsters appeared. Seeing this scene, Huynguk grew even more interested. Those stupid spiders, how dare they jump on people's heads like that? Meanwhile, outside, the army lined up neatly. Squad 1 is ready, Squad 3 is prepared and deploying the red formation. Until Phase 6 is everything clear. On the other side, a man in armor smugly said, "Ha, this scent is so nostalgic." His assistant behind him responded, All right. By the way, since that thing is so huge, why don't we mobilize more mages, then use magic to break the barrier?" Hearing this, he frowned and said, "No, this isn't magic, it's system law. You can't break system law unless the entire system collapses. The only thing we can do is wait until time runs out." At this moment, the system announced a special event. An unfortunate event is happening in this area. You can enter but cannot leave. The level cap is 15. To escape, survive for 6 hours, or defeat the boss monster. Kim Kang-euk seriously asked, How many players under level 15 are there in the Tsinghua Guild? After all, he is Lieutenant Colonel Kim Kang-ok, commander of the Monster Defense Battalion, a level B player. The person beside him is no less ordinary. She is Henna, head of strategic planning for Seoul in the Blue Flower Guild, an A-rank player. She immediately turned to ask him, "First, is there anything like that in Chonghua-ka? And are you really planning to send the rescue team in there? They'll die for sure." Hearing this, he frowned and replied, "There are more than 800 lives trapped inside. If we put the lives of our soldiers above all else, it wouldn't make any sense. Besides, there is someone very trustworthy there." Meanwhile, Huynh-guk activated his full power to enhance his iron wheel armor. Then he launched a full attack on the monster. However, his strength alone was not enough. Immediately, he commanded the team behind him to freeze the monster as before. Hearing this, Lee Han-mo also responded sternly, "Understood. Fire as planned." They activated their skills aimed at freezing the monster. The battle grew more and more fierce. Huynh-guk's iron armor shouted loudly, "You disgusting monster, you've got the wrong opponent. I'm your real enemy." The iron wheel armor man sneered coldly at the monster. "Are you awake yet? Why don't you take your friend home and go back to sleep?" At that moment, a system alert sounded. "Your mana is dropping rapidly, remaining 63%. The Iron Crusher warned, "Your mana is dropping rapidly, remaining 39%. Watching Huynh-guk fight someone in the shadows silently observed and evaluated everything. Someone of his caliber couldn't have coincidentally taken the subway today. Why would someone like him be at Seoul Station? Damn it, this is ruined. I can't believe I failed on the very first mission." The system voice announced, "Attack mission. You missed the target of waiting for the armored poisonous spider to nest at Gate 1 in Seoul Station. Mission failed." Hearing this, he panicked. "It's over." After the fight, the civilians were safely evacuated. Lee Manhwa said sternly, "The first wave of attack seems to be over. All soldiers assembled quickly. Thank you. We were too weak ourselves to stop the first wave. I thought you were a high-level player. Thank you for your help." However, Huynh-guk's cold attitude confused the soldiers. Lee Manhwa was a bit surprised and asked, "Is there a problem?" At that moment, he suddenly remembered someone he doubted. Thinking quietly strange, "I don't see him anywhere, though he's supposed to be a security team member." Then a familiar voice sounded, "Lee Huynh-guk." He turned around. "Oh, right, Sergeant Choi Son-ha. Sergeant Lee Huynh-guk, deputy squad leader. Have you evacuated the civilians yet?" Seeing this, Lee Manhwa was stunned. "What? Who can order an S-rank player when the militia has already arrived?" Son-ha replied, "The spiders are too big, so the civilians were divided into small groups. We evacuated each person into a room with a narrow hallway. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured. But have they really started attacking already? Quickly report everything to Squad 6. Finally, Lee Manhwa couldn't help but ask the soldier, "Sir, what is your level?" For this question, he pretended not to hear anything. Thinking quietly, "I don't have time for this." Outside, Kim Bik was also giving orders to the army. "I appoint Lieutenant Lee Min-hee as the commander of the front line for the Seoul Station rescue operation." He was a bit startled, but then responded properly, "I, squad leader of Squad 2, understand, sir." Kim Bik said sternly, "Focus on me. It's regrettable to send lower-level unit members there, but the lives of innocent civilians depend on you. Protect them as soldiers. Understood." Hearing this, they all shouted loudly, "Understood, sir." Kim Bik then gave special instructions to squad leader of Squad 2. "After the operation, when you meet Sergeant Lee Huynh-guk, remember to coordinate with his opinions during action." He was a bit stunned. "Ah, you mean Lee Huynh-guk, sir?" Meanwhile, at another double gate, the system once again announced a special event. "Monsters in the area will attack you." At that moment, someone said with disgust, "What the hell is this? It's everywhere. What does it mean, will attack? What the hell is going on?" The system announced the mission list. 1. Waiting for the poisonous armor spider at Gate 1 to nest inside the Seoul Station failed. 2. Massacre at least 500 civilians by any means is underway. 3. Deliver items obtained from Elite Monsters HQ-11 at Gate 2 to the Rebel Alliance is underway. Hearing this, he irritably said, "Have to endure. Once the mission is completed, I will become a true rebel. Other players don't even get a chance to receive such missions. I took this mission to change my life, but I need to calm down a bit." At that moment, a series of metal balls appeared heading toward his hiding place. Finally, he pretended to be scared. What's going on? I'm part of the railway guard team. Huynh-guk stepped ahead of him and said bluntly, if you hide while civilians are chaotic and kill soldiers in the first wave of the attack, there would be more players in that case. Your plan is to disguise as a soldier so you won't be suspected, then turn around and kill them, right? Didn't expect your brain to be that big. Been a while, huh? Hearing this, he stopped hiding and revealed himself. You know me. You know Yang Yusuf, a B-rank player rebel candidate with the skill of veracity. After some time, I'll rise to the top among A-rank players. Just call me the Dark Factor. Huynh-guk then played his hand openly. Right, I know you very well. Oh, you damn traitor. Hearing this, he frowned in annoyance. I don't know who you are, but you shouldn't be barking from the traitor's side. You must be A-rank. I have seen your metal manipulation ability. I know you're confident in your skill, but I don't care what position you hold in the militia or how high your rank is. Your iron balls don't mean a damn thing to me. Hearing this, Huynh-guk smiled. Right, I know your skills very well and how to deal with them. At that moment, someone standing above loudly exaggerated, Iron Emperor, how long do you plan to keep hiding? Are you just going to watch my carnivorous tree devour them? He was none other than Darkstar Eong Joseph carnivorous tree ability, also called Veracity, an A-rank player. Huynh-guk was seriously injured at the moment, struggling to defend himself. Seeing him silent, he became even more smug. You were so boastful earlier. Back to the present, an official battle between the two begins. Yang Joseph smiled coldly. Got it. You're confident, but no matter how high your rank, there's always something called a counter skill. Hearing this, Huynh-guk chuckled. Yeah, I know, no need to remind me. Without hesitation, he immediately activated his skill. Watching the metal balls change direction to attack Eong Joseph, he felt some pressure, quietly wondering what those moves were. Isn't he also a player who uses long-range skills? At that moment, a barrage of metal balls followed Huynh-guk's command to attack him. But relying on his own skill, he vowed no attack would hit him. Is he stupid or what, rushing in like a madman? He didn't just sit still, but controlled the branches to block the momentum. He started boasting again. You idiot, try attacking me, it won't work. Huynh-guk immediately jumped in with a smile. Nice wild horse. There's even a pile of firewood to burn. Hearing this, he retorted, You think closing in can do anything to me? Looks like you don't know my power, it's the carnivorous tree. I'll chew your arm to pieces first. Regarding his words, Huynh-guk scoffed, smiled, then directly activated his ability, turning his arm into metal. At this moment, he was shocked, thinking, What? Why can't the tree eat his arm? Meanwhile, Huynh-guk also activated his fire creation skill. Seeing this, he became even more terrified. Where did that fire come from? This bastard is just a walking metal block. Where did he get the ability to spit fire? In an emergency, Eong Joseph immediately changed tactics and began begging him, Hey, big brother, I'm on a mission, man. If you spare my life, I'll give you all the rewards as compensation. Though he said this out loud inside, he was harboring another plan. My brain's working fast. I made that offer. How could he refuse? He started pleading more. My mission is going very well. I'll finish the mission quickly. I swear. Hearing that, Huynh-guk immediately lost his temper and cursed, Nonsense! You said the same thing before, you ragged bastard! At this moment, he looked stunned and asked again, Huh? Last life, me. Finally, he lost his temper and couldn't hold back any longer, shouting loudly, Go to hell, you bastard! Just like that, a flame engulfed the traitor. This was the end for him. At this time, the system announced again, Your level is sufficient to proceed. Outside, Lee Min-hee directed from the front. We don't know what kind of gate this is, so everyone must act carefully together and get ready to enter. The system sounded again. Caution. This is a dangerous area. In the end, they had no choice but to enter without hesitation. The system gave a reminder again. Once you enter, you cannot leave until specific requirements are met. They one by one cautiously moved forward. Seeing the giant monster lying on the ground, the group couldn't help but feel a bit scared. That spider's huge. Seeing this, Lee Min-hee put a hand over his mouth to signal a reminder to the other. You idiot, Park Jun-mo, shut up right now. At that moment, a voice called out, Who's there? Hearing that, he replied, We're the military rescue team sent here. Hearing this, Lee Man-hoo quickly asked, Rescue team. Seeing the scene was too peaceful, he couldn't help but ask Lee Man-ho, "But we don't see any victims. What happened?" Hearing that he honestly answered the question, "Thanks to a military member, everyone has already been evacuated. Even now, we're following orders from that person." Lee Min-hai hurriedly asked, "Is that soldier a woman? Where is she? Is she injured?" Hearing that he was surprised and replied that the female soldier managing the situation in the temporary shelter, the one I'm talking about, is Hun-guk. But anyway, we are following his orders. Lee Min-hai's face darkened as she wanted to double-check if he had a spiky hairstyle and occasionally gave a sly smile. Lee Man-ho admitted, "Yes, that's right. I'm not so sure about the sly part." At that moment, the soldier shouted for the squad leader, who seemed to be Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk. Hearing the name Hyun-guk, he looked upset and took it out on others. "Hey, Park Jun-mo, stay put, you lowlife who doesn't know your place." Ugh, being scolded like that, he replied begrudgingly, I'm sorry." Lee Min-hee, realizing he was too harsh, quickly corrected himself. "He's just an F-rank soldier, you know. From now on, I'll be in charge here. I'm ranked C above that." Lee Man-ho wasn't interested in trivial matters anymore and asked directly, "By the way, how did you guys get in here?" Hearing that he was a bit stunned, but then Lee Man-ho continued, "There are restrictions for people below level 15, but at first I was a bit hesitant about his rank. Yet I was completely convinced by his leadership skills. By the way, I'm rank C too, so why should I obey you, squad leader? And you call yourselves a rescue team, but you're only arriving now. How do you plan to rescue us? Do you have a plan, or have you found an exit yet?" Faced with a barrage of questions from Lee Man-ho, Lee Min-hee was truly stuck, stammering, "Well, from now on, we'll build barricades at the narrow entrance and buy as much time as possible." At that moment, Choi Son-ha hurried over and said, "Captain Big Trouble." Seeing who it was, Lee Min-hee rushed over and asked Deputy Squad Leader Han, "Are you okay?" Looking at the person in front of her, she asked confusedly, "Squad 2 Leader, what are you doing here?" Hearing that he seriously said, "I came to rescue you." Ignoring his rambling, she hurriedly reported the situation. "That doesn't matter. The people have realized this is a double gate." At this point, the situation became extremely chaotic. Everyone panicked, shouting loudly, calling the person in charge. "You told us we'd escape if we just waited, so why did you hide that this is a double gate?" But faced with the public's accusations, the person in charge could only gently say it was to prevent chaos. However, after the soldiers' explanation, they became even more upset. Who the hell would believe that? So that security guard was right. In reality, you just want to use us as meat shields to buy time, right? Hearing that, she couldn't help but ask back, "Are you delusional? Why say that he didn't hide it and said straight out, 'The guardian with the scar on his face said so'?" Elsewhere at this moment, Yang Joseph was burned on half his body by fire, painfully questioning Hyun-guk. "I prepared very carefully for this mission. It's unfair this opportunity came after so long, and it's really unfair." Hearing that, he angrily cursed at him directly, "Stop talking so much, mind your own business, just die quickly." And so he sent him back to his ancestors. However, before dying, he kept whining about the unfairness. At this moment, a gate opened. A brilliant light shining from it made him squint. He shielded his eyes with his hand. Then 2 beautiful girls appeared like angels. The system then announced, "Your mana is quickly recovering. Your health is quickly recovering. Your mission has appeared. Hidden mission. The one who brings light, becoming the dawn for the whole world. You have stopped the conspiracy of the traitors against humanity. You have received the chance to become the protector of humanity. This guardian mission will make you the light of the world. Do you accept the mission, yes or no?" For this mission, he calmly said, "Of course not." Hyun-guk's answer stunned both angels into silence. "Are you sure you want to refuse? Please choose carefully, the chance will not come a second time." The system screen warned Hyun-suk, but he did not change his mind. He seriously thought, the premise of the Guardian mission is to protect humanity, which is a good thing. But in the end, they are just a group. Surely there will be rewards. A series of system notifications appeared. "This is an item to use, do not eat. A traitor has appeared, immediately deal with him. You have violated the Guardian's code of conduct. Do not laugh like that. Bless without being noticed. Mission failed, you will be punished." Today, Hyun-guk continued thinking, "My actions will often be restricted. Above all, a mission is just a mission, but people are not simple. If this mission is misused, the Guardian can become a traitor like humanity's villain Godin Prasi at any time. After all, he was also a Guardian. Hyun-guk thought angrily about the one who killed him. He gritted his teeth and cleared his throat angrily at the system bombarding him with a series of notifications. How many times do I have to say it? I refuse the mission. The two beautiful angels on either side were disappointed by Hyun-suk's refusal. The blonde sighed with pursed lips, the redhead puffed her cheeks and put her hands on her hips. Then both angels disappeared along with the gate before Hyun-suk. Hyun-suk reached out to control his power to get the key from the pile of dead bones. The system again announced, "Congratulations on winning your first reward in the lucky event. The key to Akashi Armory number 2. Looking at the key in his hand, Hyun-guk continued thinking with his usual grim face. This is the item the traitor Yangju Seok sought at all costs, even if it meant killing innocent people. If this is the main mission reward, it must be what the traitors need. If so, I definitely have to keep it." Hyun-guk smiled slyly as he put the key into his inner jacket pocket. "In this life, I must really give those traitors a big lesson." Scene change. Two soldiers were arguing with a group of civilians. "See, I told you it wasn't him." One soldier spoke first. A bigger man beside him added, "I'm the only Guardian with a scar on my face." A man shouted, "Look carefully. Are you sure it's not him?" "No." The man in the vest stammered. The scarred man fiercely said, "Anyway, you hid information about the double gate from us with no guarantee you wouldn't use us as shields." A lightning bolt flashed in Hyun-suk's head. That bastard Yangjo Seop, he must cause chaos to the end. Lieutenant Lee Min-hee spoke to mediate. "Let both sides calm down. I'm the captain of the AMT rescue team. Just trust and follow us." Hyun-suk looked at Lieutenant Lee Min-hee's serious working demeanor and smirked. So Lieutenant Colonel Kim Sang-sol didn't abandon Seoul either. He sent Lieutenant Lee Min-hee to the needed place. She's very timely. The fat man argued, "Lee Min-hee, how can we trust a rescue team with only 6 people? Are you kidding me? How do you plan to save us? There must be a plan." At this moment, Hyun-suk finally spoke up, capturing the crowd's attention. "Is there something you don't understand? In the second wave, are we all going to die no matter what?" The man in the black suit still strained his neck to argue, "We can't trust you all." "That's exactly why we have to do this." These words successfully angered Hyun-suk. His face darkened. "If you don't trust us, do you have another way?" The others were all shocked by Hyun-guk's question. Everyone stared wide-eyed at him. Hyun-guk continued. "The guards on the tracks are risking their lives fighting. Isn't that enough for you to believe? Is there anyone else here willing to risk their life for you? Those who just blamed the soldiers are now all scared." Lee Min-hyun pointed at Hyun-guk and shouted loudly, "Lee Hyun-guk, you brat, how dare you speak like that to the people? And where have you been hiding to only show up now?" Hyun-suk answered seriously, "I just blocked the double gate." Hyun-suk's words surprised everyone even more. Lee Min-hyun didn't believe it and shouted, "You blocked the double gate by yourself! This bastard lies without blinking!" Before Lee Min-hyun finished insulting, Hyun-guk cut him off. "The second wave of monster attacks is about to start. Everyone must take shelter as carefully as possible. Guards and the squad leader, please follow me." The scar-faced soldier immediately responded clearly. "Understood, hurry up, everyone. Use chairs and tables to block the entrances." Finding a hiding spot carefully, Lee Min-hyun gritted his teeth in frustration. "What kind of order is this? I don't even have a chance to say a word. Is this really the Lee Hyun-guk I know?" The purple gate on the ceiling trembled, signaling a fierce battle about to happen. Elsewhere, Hyun-suk was with Choi Seo-nya and Park Jun-mo. Sergeant Park Jun-mo rubbed Lee Hyun-guk's neck. "I brought your sword and the vice squad leader's spellbook here." Choi Seo-nya smiled, holding the book. "Oh, my thank you." Hyun-guk also thanked him. "Thanks, Jun-mo." Hyun-suk sat down, sighing. "Everyone gather, I have something to say." The first attack wave of those spider monsters wasn't mentioned in the field guide, but thanks to my armor and our security forces, we successfully stopped it. But with one monster in a cursed event, we are still short. One soldier with a scar on his face. I agreed too. Although it's definitely hard to defeat, there's something strange about it. I think since this is the first wave, the cursed event is also a type of event, so it must have stages. In the second wave, monsters using the spider's characteristic venom will probably appear. Lee Min-hyun gritted his teeth with envy. Not only the vice squad leader, but even the guards are like that. They all listen to that loser, so no one cares. The ugly expression on Lee Min-hyun's face was fixed as he focused on Hyun-suk's warnings. That's why we have to prepare gas masks first. And no matter how large the gaseous area is, if the poison spreads, the people will still breathe it in. So we have to lure the monsters out at all costs. Hyun-suk spoke seriously. Now, I will explain the details of this operation to everyone. When the gate opens for the second wave and the monsters come out, everyone must be ready. Remember exactly what Hyun-suk instructed. When the second wave attacks, we have to attract their attention and lure them outside. A venomous spider moved slightly toward Hyun-guk. I'll handle that mission. The spider made harsh screeching sounds and then charged wildly at Hyun-guk. The rescue and security teams will be ready outside in groups, then attack them at positions where they can take cover and hide like last time. We just need to tie their legs and buy time no matter what. Don't get too close. The spider monster attacked wildly. Then, to Choi So-na's surprise, Hyun-suk leapt up to attack the monster from above and made a spin to dodge its counterattack. Remember what Hyun-suk said during the briefing? When you find a good position, and I manage to strip the spider's armor, focus all firepower on that part and take them down. Now is the crucial point to increase this operation's chance of success. The squad leader and vice squad leader must lead us. Min-hyun, a tall lieutenant, looked surprised and glanced at Choi So-na, asking suspiciously, me, and the vice squad leader too. Hyun-guk continued. If the squad leader continuously helps me teleport instantly with his blink ability, I can use all my mana and stamina to strip the spider's armor. The deputy squad leader will continuously replenish your mana, so I guess we can use flash teleport all the way to the end of the match. Most importantly, the only person who can detect and handle risky situations in each group is the squad leader. The one who is very skilled in assault tactics, right? Yes. When Hyun-suk said that, everyone's eyes turned to Lee Min-hyun. Lee Min-hyun covered his mouth and smirked ahem. With this strategy, I think we can get through the attack without too much damage. Hyun-suk also smiled confidently, yes. Then it's up to you, squad leader. Oh no, rescue team leader is more accurate. Hyun-guk thought silently, that's right. With Lee Min-hyun's C-rank runner flash teleport ability at level 15, we can easily complete this mission. When everyone was ready to fight, the gate opened once again. Hyun-guk warned everyone again, the second wave is about to start. Everyone ready. The system sent a notification event in progress. A misfortune event is occurring in the area. You can enter but cannot leave. Entry level limit is level 15. Survive for 6 hours or defeat the boss monster to escape. Monsters started appearing from the gate. A giant spider monster fell down, causing a big tremor. Hyun-guk laughed triumphantly. Come on, come here. Come here, our plan is complete now. The system displayed the notification again, survive for 6 hours or defeat the boss monster to escape. This notification confused Hyun-suk. Who boss monster? No, it can't be. This can't be happening. To Hyun-suk's surprise, the boss monster appeared looking somewhat human. Standing on 2 hind legs, the system announced boss monster has appeared. Defeat it. In Hyun-guk's mind were just a few words, the future has changed. Then he shouted loudly, everyone run! After the loud noise, a huge super-level beast appeared. A notification popped up, boss monster has appeared. Lee Hyun-guk was very alarmed and whispered, boss monster? No, it can't be. How is this possible? This beast looked much bigger and more gigantic than future Lee Hyun-guk had seen. The notification appeared again, defeat the boss monster. At that moment, Lee Hyun-guk shouted for everyone to run quickly. Then he continued, thinking it's changed. Back to the current situation, everyone appeared very confused and anxious. Someone thought silently, what the hell is going on? We have to grasp the situation first. At that moment, the boss monster turned its head and glared at them. Then it started making ear-piercing roars. At this point, Lee Hyun-suk began analyzing. As you remember, the boss monster appears after the second wave attack. Then he looked around and thought further. No, that's not right. Could the future have changed because everyone around had to cover their ears from the monster's screams? That noise made everyone very uncomfortable, which only made Lee Hyun-guk more annoyed and angry. He thought silently to himself right after. The Lord Beast started launching attacks. After this strike, the ground beneath it cracked and shattered. Lee Hyun-guk didn't wait any longer and immediately cast a spell to counterattack. In his mind, he thought he had to act. If he didn't stop it, everything would be lost. While casting the spell on the beast's body, he silently thought of a spell to break defenses. At that moment, the system notification warned that his energy was continuously dropping to 72%. After launching the counterattack, his energy still seemed insufficient to strike back the beast. Just then, another notification appeared warning that his defense spell had failed. The monster's metal shell was stronger than the steel punch's force. Lee Hyun-guk was very surprised, wondering the steel punch didn't work. Then the monster immediately responded with a body slam against Lee Hyun-guk. He then attacked with a combo of metal system skills. At this moment, the situation was completely in favor of the Beast Lord. Realizing this, Lee Hyun-guk thought it only took one strike to knock down that steel pillar. Lee Hyun-guk continued, thinking the enhanced transformation skill doesn't seem to be effective against it anymore. Then Lee Hyun-guk observed the steel pillar and thought, wait a minute. His expression showed some fear. Did it blow away the pillar too? Immediately after, Lee Hyun-guk was struck by an attack from behind by the beast. Then he quickly rolled and dodged the attack. He instantly calculated in his head and dashed off in another direction. Although he managed to evade that attack, he thought his chances of success were low. Then his expression became very serious, thinking this was the only way. After that, he charged straight at the giant beast without hesitation. His teammate over there immediately shouted, "Hey, you crazy guy! Lee Hyun-guk! What the hell are you doing? Lure it outside according to the plan." Lee Hyun-guk then remembered the previous encounter. That night, he called out to the tactical commander Lee Min-hee. At that moment, Lee Min-hee turned around, exclaimed, and asked, "Lee Hyun-guk, did you purposely call him like that?" Then Lee Hyun-suk stepped forward and said thanks to his skills, everyone was safe. Lee Min-hee wondered if that's why he was the commander. He then turned back and said, "That's from my experience as a commander." Lee Hyun-suk smiled slightly and said, "You're lucky to have a partner like me. You're not bluffing about remembering the entire strategy." Lee Min-hee put his thumb on his forehead and grumbled, "You think the strategies in books are exactly the same as in actual combat? He has to memorize everything to use it when the time is ripe." Lee Min-hee continued, "To surpass the limits of the blink skill, he needs to calculate details to use it at the right moment and place." Lee Hyun-guk then realized something and thought, "You mean everything?" Lee Min-hyun seriously raised his voice. "Every strategy is a result. All are constant efforts, and his hard survival." Back to the present, the teammate was worried and wondering what Lee Hyun-guk was trying to do. At that time, Lee Hyun-suk was still fighting with a strategy known only to himself. A notification appeared warning that Lee Hyun-suk's energy was continuously dropping now at 45%. During the fight, he still thought about Lee Min-hee's authority combined with his deep tactical knowledge. Another notification appeared warning his energy was still decreasing and now only at 32%. Lee Hyun-guk was struggling greatly with his strategy. He thought, "He will know what you're going to do." At this point, the pillar had started to crack, and everyone began to notice. The teammate thought to himself, "That brat isn't just dodging attacks, but also luring the boss beast to attack all the pillars." But even if all the pillars were destroyed, thinking so, he suddenly paused and thought, "Is he crazy or what?" And then he turned to Choi Son-ha, the squad leader, and said, "Listen, you need to supply her with as much energy as possible." She asked, "For what?" He explained, "You'll create the biggest blink possible." At this moment, Lee Hyun-guk was still desperately trying his strategy, looking at the last unbroken pillar and thinking, "Last pillar, please hold on just a little longer." A notification appeared again, warning his energy was continuously dropping, and now at 27%. The monster's energy was also very angry at being taunted. It slammed hard into the ground, throwing Lee Hyun-guk into the air. Lee Hyun-guk was very surprised by this attack, struggling to control himself, and lingered near the last pillar. There he thought, body transformation enhancement. Another notification appeared. Body transformation enhancement, if exceeding limits, can damage the user's body. Remaining energy is 3%. At this moment, the beast attempted to attack him, but it seemed something protected Lee Hyun-suk in that situation. Then he was thrown out and slammed into the ground, and everything around had become devastated, just as Lee Hyun-suk intended. Seeing that, he also thought to himself, "The bet is done. It has already knocked down all the pillars supporting this building." After the strong collision earlier, Lee Hyun-guk was still pinned tightly against the wall. He thought, "Soon it will collapse. I can't let it catch up." Then he tried to move and thought to himself that he had to pull off a trick. At that moment, a teammate appeared, casting some kind of magic in his hand, shouting loudly, "Lai Huin Guk, you crazy fool, get out of there now!" The monster lord at that moment stared straight at Li Huin Guk. The teammate continued, "Hey, doesn't Lai Huin Guk realize that when he activates the flash, he'll get caught in it too? He won't be able to hold on?" However, Lai Huin Guk, hearing this, just wearily said, "Lieutenant, do it now. If you don't act, we'll all die." Hearing that, the teammate shouted loudly, "Damn it!" Then he performed the magic spell, and it seemed to suppress the monster lord, leaving it unable to react. This spell knocked the monster down to the ground. This made it extremely furious. Shortly after, the monster appeared to have been defeated and knocked over. Li Huin Guk saw this and was satisfied, smiling to himself, knowing that his partner could definitely do it well done. Then the building collapsed. Seeing Lai Huin Guk still inside the building, the teammate trembled and said, "Lai Huin Guk, you bastard." Behind him was Choi Son-ha, who looked extremely shocked, eyes wide, calling out to Li Huin Guk. In front of them lay countless dead bodies strewn everywhere. Li Huin Guk said sadly, "We have lost too many comrades in this operation." He wondered if he really had what it took to be a leader. Sao Eun-ha looked at him thoughtfully, then called out to Lai Huin Guk. She scolded him as a pathetic bastard. "Were you going to keep speaking so weakly? What qualification? Who set that rule? Still don't believe in yourself." Li Huin Guk turned his face away, saying nothing. At that moment, a monster charged at him. He stepped back. The system warned that his mana was down to 30%. Li Huin Guk apologized to everyone, then jumped into the abyss. Suddenly, Choi Son-ha called him. He was startled and looked back. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Choi Son-ha smiled and told him not to bear everything alone. "When you feel worried, look into the eyes of those around you, those who trust and follow you." A hailstorm fell. Li Huin Guk's face covered in blood looked straight ahead. On this side, two people were trying to pull Hyun Guk away from the falling stones. One reached out to grab him. The other used all their strength to maintain the barrier. Finally, Li Hyun Guk managed to get through. Above, the rocks kept falling non-stop. The system announced that the boss had appeared. Defeat the boss. Time remaining 4 hours, 59 minutes, 21 seconds. Sir, all media outlets are calling on us to express opinions about the measures being taken regarding the appearance of the boss monster at the station. Kim Kang-seok gritted his teeth as his subordinate reported to the Seoul Strategy Chief, Kim Kang-seo-kyung. If the director and the Seoul Strategy Chief handle things that way, people will say the head of the LUOC Battle Bureau is just mediocre, handling things carelessly. She yelled at those who once called themselves brothers in arms but now bite and blame each other. Major Kim Kang-yeok was furious, clenching his fists as he stared at Catherine Jo. He glanced at her with contempt. Catherine Yu, annoyed, told him to stop glaring. She was about to call for backup, yet she received a call. She silently cursed. "Why does it have to be these damn monsters?" The call was from Doloy. The scene changed to a desolate landscape. The structure was severely damaged. Everyone was worried and searching for Li Huin Guk. Choi Son-ha asked Li Huin Guk if he intended to die. He once thought he was surely going to die there. But now the future has changed. Now I can't even be sure how useful the information I have is, or if it will all become useless. Choi Son-ha blinked his eyes widely, looking at the surroundings. Private Park. Anin clenched his teeth. What should he do? Private Park Anin couldn't take it anymore and grabbed Lai Hyun Guk's shirt, calling him an arrogant bastard. "Who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? Acting alone like that. If it weren't for him being here, we'd all be dead by now." The foundation of strategy is trust in your teammates. Trusting that the members of the team will follow through and carry out the actions that were discussed beforehand. It's where every strategy can be effective. Do you think running around alone like this is good for everyone? Of course not. Choi Son-ha smiled and asked, "Did you ever trust your teammates from the start? And sometimes trust those eyes?" Li Hyun Guk replied, "Trust, huh? Squad leader, now is not the time." "Thank you, squad leader. Now I know what to do because of you." Private Park. Anin asked blankly, "What do you mean?" Li Hyun Guk continued, "The boss monster will rush out and attack everyone, but now I have figured out how to stop it." When Park Anin understood his intention, he said, "This bastard wants to throw himself out there again. Now we have to act strategically. First, even if you have skin as tough as iron." Cutting off Park Anin's words, Li Hyun Guk firmly stated he would use a proper strategy for this situation. And this strategy requires everyone to work together. Then, with determined eyes and burning spirit, Li Hyun Guk told everyone, "Listen carefully now. From now on, the key to conquering the boss monster is all of you. Below attracted looking up, this is Private Park Juno. Information about the boss monster's appearance has spread everywhere. What are you going to do to protect the people of Seoul? The military side, please express your opinion. Everyone shouted loudly. Please summarize the rescue situation first. Mr. Park Juno said additional information has just been confirmed. To cope with this unfortunate event, the second rescue team has been deployed. The journalists kept making noise. Second rescue team. In a boss monster situation, are you sending low-level soldiers again if they are below level 15? Is your plan to send low-level soldiers to suppress the boss monster? The boss monster is an extremely fierce and brutal beast. It keeps charging forward, destroying buildings in its path. With horns on its head and sharp teeth, it destroys another place. Everything gets damaged by it. The force of its destruction creates a strong wind, forcing Lee Hyun-guk and Choi Son-ha to defend themselves fiercely. It uses its attacks to create a vortex in the sky above. At this moment, a circle of water appears. The teammates anxiously urge the defense team to quickly lower the wall immediately. When lowered, the water poured down onto the monster. It was pushed down by a strong wave of water and collapsed to the ground. At this time, the defense team used magic to block its path. Seizing the moment, Lee Hyun-guk shouted for Park Hun-mo to quickly trigger the lightning strike. Hun-mo immediately obeyed and triggered an explosion that shocked the monster continuously. The lightning enveloped its whole body. It clenched its teeth in pain. Sergeant Lee Hyun-guk ordered Park Hun-mo to hold on until the ice magic was ready. Someone shouted loudly, "Everyone be careful." Instantly, everyone was struck by an invisible force that made them all clutch their necks and fall down. Park Hun-mo also lost balance and fell forward. The monster escaped the encirclement and returned to the press conference. The plan is to send low-level soldiers to suppress the monster. "Are you going to sacrifice them for nothing?" Park Juno said resolutely. This time, the second rescue team has an S-rank player participating, the King Hantaeosan. He is the S-rank player known as the King, ranked second nationally and ninth internationally on the battlefield. Hantaeosan said, "You've all worked hard. Now that he's here, let him handle the rest." This is the power of the final S-rank player making his appearance. Lazy Tiger Fallen. Tiger Hante-san said proudly, "As long as I'm here, these monsters won't hurt anyone. This national war will end quickly. Stand still." Hante-san, the S-rank player known as the Power King, ranked second in Korea, ninth in the world because the future has changed even more. Lee Hyun-guk couldn't fully trust the information he had, so he decided to forgo the reward and wait 5 hours. Unexpectedly, Hante-san arrived just in time. In his previous life, he was an S-rank player without level restrictions, and they could destroy dungeons. It was because Hante-san appeared at the final stage of the event's rewards. Misfortune also turned him into an undefeated warrior when he got his hands on the secret armor item from Mana Marlith. But this time it's different. Alongside Hante-san, fiercely ready to join the fight and help everyone. He even warned Lee Hyun-guk, "Know your place, don't touch his loot." Lee Hyun-guk just scoffed dismissively. Thanks to Hante-san, he no longer has to give up the reward. But if it's something Hante-san really likes, then he's the one who controls this game. Hante-san barely exerted himself fighting that monster. It seemed like an uneven fight. Hante-san casually blocked the monster's blow and sneered, "Does it think it's the only one who knows how to fight? He knows how too." He then focused his energy into a powerful explosive punch that sent the monster flying 10 meters away. Everyone present saw the monster was unharmed. He looked surprised, apparently respecting this monster now. He said, "Monster-chan, you've successfully provoked me." He put all his strength into rushing forward. That slash pierced through the monster's body. He warned the monster that its survival was only going to bring trouble. From above, he fell like a shooting star. The wind he created nearly blew everyone off the ground. Even Lee Hyun-guk wasn't spared. Choi Seong-ha asked if he was okay since he had been attacking non-stop and she had already transferred a lot of mana to him. Lee Hyun-guk smiled, signaling he was fine. He then pulled his hand away, confusing Choi Seong-ha. The rude fellow even dared to ask what Lee Hyun-guk intended to do. Hante-san was enjoying the thrill of continuous kills punching the monster. It seemed the monster was about to become a naked chicken sacrifice on the altar. Just when it seemed over, the monster's chest flashed blue lightning. This stunned Hante-san wide-eyed. From the monster's chest, something emerged, someone who pierced right through the monster. Skill info, Steel Punch rank D. Mana consumption effect to crush metal. Mana cost depends on the amount of metal targeted. Mana level 15%. After the monster was pierced, it howled like it was about to die. Hantasan glared threateningly at Lee Hyun-suk. Want to die by interfering in his fight? Lee Hyun-suk retorted, he's an S-rank ranker. Doesn't he realize how shameless that sounds? Hantasan angrily said, Lee Hyun-suk, say that again. Lee Hyun-suk didn't hold back, pointing out that he was the one interfering in his team's fight at this station. Hantasan argued back, saying without him, they wouldn't have survived against that monster. Gritting his teeth at Lee Hyun-suk's cheating, he charged forward to finish off the monster first. Obviously, Lee Hyun-guk couldn't let him succeed, especially since it was his team risking their lives. Hantasan just showed up out of nowhere and stole the credit, so Lee Hyun-guk controlled the weapon to kill the monster first. It looks like Lee Hyun-guk has a higher chance of killing the monster than Hantasan, seeing that he mustered all his strength to fly over. It's pitiful to see a monster being fought over by two guys. Lee Hyun-guk, with that affectionate look, was already halfway to victory when he reached the monster first in the end. This monster is cursed. It won't die peacefully with these people around. I wonder if Hantasan could be gentler with it. A huge explosion erupted. The shockwave was massive. At this moment, the system announcement appeared. You have defeated the boss monster. The restriction in this area has been lifted. Oh, look at that. After the appearance of the Fist King, Hantasan, the boss monster, was defeated in less than 5 minutes. The mission is complete. The event dome will disappear after a loud explosion. Oh my god. Now we see how terrible Gyeongsong's condition really is. A girl runs over and hugs her mother anxiously, asking if she's okay. Is Mom hurt anywhere? Her mother says nothing, just holds her tightly. Mom reassures her not to worry because she's fine. Hearing that, she bursts into tears. The reunion scene is so warm and heartfelt. Breaking news. A miracle has occurred. All the people in Gyeongsong have survived. I repeat, a miracle has happened. Everyone has survived. The system notifies Lee Hyun-guk that he defeated the monster, and the reward for his effort will be decided based on his contribution to the event. Meanwhile, Hantasan's face turned sour, yet he only got second place from the monster. Another item popped out as Hantasan's reward. A mysterious energy infused 24% into the sword. As for first place, it's Lee Hyun-guk. The reward looks like a necklace. It fits neatly in the palm of his hand. He received the secret necklace of Mananan Mark Leary, hero level. Attributes can be upgraded through combat. When combined with mana, it creates a thin layer of armor. Also makes the secret armor easy to carry and store. Especially a subspace allows you to store items. And so Lee Hyun-guk protected Gaseon and got what he wanted. Hantasan wasn't happy, though. He called Lee Hyun-guk a bastard and demanded to know why he did that to him. Then Lee Hyun-guk realized Hantasan was here too. He angrily asked what about his reward. Lee Hyun-guk snapped back. What reward of yours? His team was the one who actually stopped the second boss wave. He should be grateful to have second place even though he barged in at the last minute. Warned him he could do whatever he wanted, but the truth couldn't be changed. Hantasan got furious and tried to explain to Lee Hyun-guk. Killing the boss counts for 7% of the event reward. So even if you guys did something before his contribution is still more. He then added something about morality. Hantasan was extremely outraged, complaining that he had secluded himself for 6 months of training but had to come back to deal with this mess. So at least he should get a hero-level item to make up for it. He asked Lee Hyun-guk again. Hantasan shouted furiously at him. Hey, you crazy bastard, explain! Where's his reward? Hearing that he calmly asked back they stopped the second wave and the boss together. He should be grateful to get second place even though he tried to steal credit at the last minute. Seeing no answer, the guy once again tried to intimidate him by exaggerating his power. He coldly asked him, do you realize you just wasted your time now? He cut in, hey Hantasan, stand still. He babbled about solo training or contribution or whatever. Because if he were paid fairly for the time he spent fighting, no reward would be enough. Hearing that Hantasan got even angrier. He charged forward, yelling in his face, you've gone crazy. Just as the punch was about to hit him, 2 people appeared. One girl looked at Hantasan and shouted, Hantasan, what the hell are you doing? Hantasan seemed to recognize the 2 of them, so he stopped what he was doing. He also looked toward the 2 of them. The man accompanying the girl spoke up. The gate is closed. This man was Lieutenant Colonel Kim Kang-seok. Grayson Vuong Nam-san, A-level B player ranked 166 in South Korea. He then continued looking at Hantasan and asked, what are you doing? He saw the 2 approaching and smiled slyly, then exclaimed, the gate is perfect. After that, he pretended to reach out to the arm that Han Tizan was about to strike his face with. He stopped midair and said, "Oh, my well done, Tiger. Excellent, Han Tizan. It's an honor to meet you." Han Tizan was very surprised by his sudden change in attitude. He didn't even bother to care about his surprised reaction and just gently announced, "I'm leaving." Then he ran straight in front of Lieutenant Colonel Kim. Lieutenant Colonel Kim saw this and asked, "Private Lee Hyun-guk, are you okay?" He then assumed a formal stance, raised both hands, and said, "Sir, I am Private Lee Hyun-guk. I'm still fine." Han Tizan behind shouted, "Hey, come here right now! Go get him." The girl who had been silent until now finally spoke. "Han Tizan, you must stop immediately." She didn't know what had happened, but warned, "Listen carefully, the whole country is watching." Indeed, above them were helicopters from the network broadcasting live. This girl was IU Hena, the second daughter of the president of Manhwa, the largest guild in South Korea. She was an A-level player. She continued speaking to Han Tizan, "If he causes chaos here, it will be very difficult to handle the aftermath. Do you understand, even for the Manhwa guild?" Han Tizan was extremely annoyed hearing this. At that moment, someone announced, "Make way, the Major General is here." The teleportation gate opened in mid-air. Someone from inside announced, "The teleportation gate is open." From inside, a person hovered out into the air. This person was Major General Choi Jung-cheon, ranked 3rd of the AMT Brigade, ranked 31 in South Korea. An A-level player who passed rigorous large-scale magic screening. He single-handedly defeated an entire armed force, becoming a strategic weapon. He looked at Han Tizan and Yuhana. Then he asked curiously, "Even the guild president's daughter from Manhwa is here. Is there a problem?" Yuhana replied, "Come on, Major General, what could possibly happen? The gate is already closed." Major General Choi cheerfully said, "Of course, if it's the Manhwa Guild, obviously no problem, right?" Yuhana thought Major General Choi was mocking her and whispered, calling him a sly old man. The Major General then walked over to where he and Lieutenant Colonel Kim were standing. Lieutenant Colonel Kim clasped his hands in greeting and loudly said, "Ngiem Yuhana here." Without caring about the others, he turned to ask Han Tizan, "By the way, Han Tizan, why did Gaecheon end up like this? I thought you set conditions for him to resolve the gate and stop the second wave without causing any damage. Surely he should be able to handle a gate this size without causing anything, right?" Han Tizan turned away without much explanation. "Whatever. He didn't destroy the station or get first place for this raid." IU Hena was very surprised and asked, "What do you mean he didn't get first place?" Han Tizan didn't explain, but changed the subject. "Anyway, he already met all your conditions, so you better keep your promise." After saying that, he winked at her, then flew away, leaving only smoke and dust behind. IU Hena still didn't understand and thought, the great S-rank runner Han Tizan didn't get first place in an unusual level 15 event, really. Then who got first place? That question just popped up in her mind, and she already had the answer. She turned to look at him talking with Major General Choi. Major General Choi was marveling. How could the military records say he could only control objects weighing 300 grams, but recent reports show he can handle heavier ones? He seemed to notice Yuhana looking his way and glanced back at her. She was a bit surprised and thought, "Oh, it's him." Major General Choi continued about the issue unless the report was wrong. Is he really just an F rank? Yuhana overheard this and was extremely surprised at him having an F rank. Major General Choi happily commented, "He's interesting indeed. He wants to walk and listen to the details at the same time." Yuhana here is rubbing her forehead, sighing that her head hurts so much, wondering what the heck is going on. Scene change. He is walking with Major General Choi. Well, walking only for him because the general is flying in the air. He walks while thinking, reminding himself to stay highly alert. Major General Choi Jung-cheon is not someone he can joke with. His power earned him the title of strategic nuclear weapon. But he's also extremely smart because he's the person the death god is most cautious about and has attempted countless assassinations on him. Major General Choi speaks first to Corporal Lee Hyun-guk. Hearing this, he replies, "Yes, sir." Corporal Lee Hyun-guk is present. The general asks if he minds reporting back what just happened to him. He turns around, feet forming a 5-shaped stance, thinking to himself that just as he expected, the general is probing for any unusual actions contrary to his record. He begins to explain that not long ago when he captured his second monster, his power suddenly surged along with a message announcing the rise of Dunstan. Instead of 300 gears, as the lieutenant colonel said, he can control approximately 17 kigis and gained a few additional skills. The major general strokes his chin thoughtfully and says, "You're talking about an achievement. The achievement system is very unusual, like missions." He silently thinks no one is allowed to know that an F-tier runner can continue to develop. "Please, Major General Choi." After thinking for a moment, he flashes a bored smile and says, "Let's just call it an achievement. You definitely got lucky." He wonders what that means. This discomfort suddenly leads the Major General to say he can no longer call him an F-tier. Your combat power is at least C-tier or higher. Surprised, he silently calculates. No way does he want to spy on him anymore. The general still smiles kindly, but who knows everything he says needs caution. "You've done a great job. Surely you will receive a worthy reward, right? Do you want any items? Maybe some magical armor or something I can provide it?" Hearing this, he lowers his head, relieved that the general is no longer probing him. Hearing the general's words, he sneers inwardly and says, "Actually, there is one weapon I want, but I'm not sure if a major general like you can just easily give it to me." The general seems incredulous and asks, "A weapon you can't get? What is it?" Without hesitation, he answers, "One of your precious items, the heroic tier Phoenix item." The general's eyes flash with surprise, or rather shock. Then he laughs, clutching his stomach, and says, "Is your courage made of steel? Great. Next time, get a higher rank before you talk Corporal Lee Hyun-guk. You've been specially recommended." Hearing this, he quickly thanks him. Then the general turns and flies away, leaving him a compliment. "Truly a passionate young man." He sighs inwardly. "Old Ginger only gets spicier." The general changes the subject. Anyway, it's a relief he can hide a little longer. Scene shifts to a few days later at AMT Brigade 3 Battalion 1. He is lying on the bed looking at system data, absorbing Manhwa, the secret armor of LIR, with an efficiency of 150% in the smelter, completing metal absorption in 1959. He looks at the data, thinking that a heroic tier item must be very hard to absorb. Someone runs in and says to Corporal Lee Hyun-guk, "Aren't you going to train?" The person speaking is Private Park Jun-mo, an F-tier lightning element who cannot develop further. Another is Private Choi Min-ji, an E-tier hunter type. He also advises him, "Please teach us something other than training." Seeing them, he mutters, "God, these annoying bastards." Then he lifts his shirt to reveal his bandaged stomach and shouts angrily, "Hey, don't you see I'm recovering?" The privates still won't leave him alone and plead, "Corporal Lee Hyun-guk, just train the front line, we will follow closely." Ignoring them, his imagination takes him far away. He thinks about these events and silently reflects that no matter what he has gained something from them, probably trust. At this moment, the room door was pushed open. Private and Minty entered to report. "Private and Minty, you have received orders to return to support the squad from the Military General Hospital. Waiting for orders, sir." Seeing this, he immediately sat up and walked straight to the door, thinking to himself that future reward items were very important. He realized that there were things even more important around him. He walked over, hugged Private Ann, and said thank you, seeing that he curiously asked why. Hearing this, he replied, "What else? This kid came back right on time for practice, didn't he?" He silently admired that with people like these beside him, maybe having them watch his back wasn't so bad, saying that the whole group dragged each other off to practice. The phenomenon of multiple portals opening in the same area is called a wave attack. Soon a wave will sweep through Seoul, turning the city into a living hell. Only one person can foresee the future, and that person is him. Can the main character alone stop this wave? Can everyone survive? But this time he also recalled his past life. Private Minty E received orders to return and support from the military hospital. Basically, he couldn't do it alone. He needed everyone's support and help. Hyun-guk hugged his younger brother, seeing that the younger one was confused. He smiled and said, "What else could it be? You came just in time for practice, didn't you?" He said he didn't hear anything at all, because with people like them standing by his side, he had to be stronger. So the whole group smiled, full of hope. "Let's go, it's time for practice. Only by training can I save them." But Sumo was worried because ranks C and below are not allowed to use the training center. He hugged him by the neck and asked, "Don't you want to try real training?" He sighed and said, "Why do we have to start like this?" Then he pushed him away and seriously said, "You've passed the unlucky event. So why be discouraged this time? Except for Sumo, everyone got promoted. He felt a bit insecure hearing that. Last time was just support, but now he has to do it himself. Hearing this, he said he would back them up. Hearing that the whole group gained determination, then they went inside. But after a moment, the group was stunned by the situation ahead. He stood behind and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Charge and hurry up!" Then he smiled. The door closed, leaving them all inside. They panicked inside and kept banging on the door, pleading for help. Outside, he smiled slyly. The training of attributes began. A few days later, two girls were chatting about that sergeant uncle. The person next to them was curious. Who? Oh, that's the rank C boss who lifted weights during the lockdown event. They looked at him in admiration, thinking he must be very muscular, but it turned out not to be. He smiled secretly, thinking those kids were probably cheering for them. He scratched his ear, puzzled. Why does my hand itch like this? Nearby, she told the two to buy enough for the whole group. Suddenly seeing the main character, she asked, "Lee Hyun-gook, isn't it time for personal training?" He seriously shouted, "Reporting. I came to the PX to buy supplements for my subordinates who are training." He didn't forget to glance at the guy behind him. That guy gritted his teeth angrily. "What, you're starting again?" The short-haired girl looked up at him but said nothing. Suddenly she asked, "I heard you achieved great feats wreaking havoc in the dungeon." He was startled and said yes. The two behind her were also stunned. She marveled at his unusual achievements, truly convincing. But she still felt he was hiding something. He was indifferent and puzzled. She said something that seemed to hit his black heart. He was cold and indifferent. She immediately said something that struck his dark heart. She felt he acted as if he already knew everything. It seemed he had obtained all the information that they did not know. He said he didn't understand what she was talking about. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. "I didn't tell you." Behind them, two people were about to fight. At that moment, a voice rang out from above. The battalion commander wants to see Nam immediately. They fell silent upon hearing that. She looked at him angrily for interrupting their conversation. Then, before leaving, she seriously said, "I don't know what your purpose is, but I will be watching you." Hearing that, he wished her a good day and then left. Once outside, Nam finally breathed a sigh of relief. For now, he had to stay away from Unha. But what exactly was going on? The promotion ceremony was still a few days away. Just as he stood in front of the battalion commander's door, a loud voice boomed, "What kind of test is this? If you send them here, your people will die." He knocked on the door and someone inside told him to come in. As he was about to introduce himself, he suddenly saw two people standing ahead, one of whom was Major General Cho Dong-cheon. The Major General looked like he had been waiting for him for a long time. Just as the battalion commander was about to speak, the Major General stopped him, saying that he would personally talk to him. His face was serious. A few days ago, a red gate opened in the Syndream area. At that time, their whole group was fighting fiercely. They were like madmen, slashing and killing each other. The team leader didn't know what to do. He just wanted to shout for them to stop. But soon after, he was chased and attacked as well. Their entire corps seemed to have lost their minds and gone mad. Even with the map, he couldn't escape. They held him back. His face was full of horror. The scream of Tai Tai echoed. It was confirmed today that the 3rd assault team of Manhwa was completely wiped out. The chaotic level 3 gate after 3 failed assaults showed that the organization still lacked sufficient capability. So the two organizations would need to unite and counterattack. He was shocked by this. He didn't remember such a thing happening. Then the Major General continued. Entry is limited to level 18 and above, maximum 30 people. I was informed this is a zombie dungeon. Only by successfully assaulting it can one get out. Hearing this, he was amazed. Could the commander of the Undead Legion really be involved? The Major General continued, "That arrogant flower guild has sacrificed many promising rookies but still failed the assault. The assault is our guild's business. They don't need to interfere. I think you are the most suitable person to come here." He smiled mysteriously. The battalion commander spoke up upon hearing this, but the Major General silenced him with a single word. Then he asked if he could do it. Upon hearing that he thought in his past life, none of this happened. But if zombies are involved, this matter relates to the undead. He must take part. Nam shouted, "I'll give it a try." The battalion commander was astonished. The Major General looked confident he hadn't chosen the wrong person. But then he said, "I don't think I can handle the red gate with the weapons I have." The Major General sighed. "I remember last time if I had it, I would definitely have succeeded. That was the one-shot, guaranteed hit bow used by Kristen, the legendary figure from King Arthur's Tales. Despite its unbelievable accuracy and steel-piercing effect, this weapon is hard to get and has only been used once. Even in the Major General's hands, it was a rare and precious weapon used only on special occasions. But when it's in my hands, that's another story. Hearing that he was startled, then smiled. So let's make a pact. If you fail, you will bear full responsibility. He smiled back and replied, yes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's normal for commanders to send subordinates to raid dungeons. Huynh-guk thought, yet he chose me. I'm just an ordinary soldier made captain of the assault team. Perhaps because he and the leader of the Manhwa Guild are rivals. If I succeed, this will be a perfect victory over the elite players of the Manhwa Guild. Even if we lose, it's not necessarily a failure for the army because we're only here to support the Manhwa Guild. And this victory will prove that the monster defense team is not useless at all. At the same time, it brings a win in the battle of wits against the Manhwa Guild. Back in reality, the old man said to him, very good, I'll give you the fianat right away. He kept thinking that no matter the outcome, Major General Choi Jung-cheon would benefit. The old man continued, I know this mission will be tough for you. If you succeed in the raid, I will promote you to sergeant. He thought, this sly old man, I won't let him take advantage of me, and said, Major General, last time you promised me a reward fianat. If I succeed this time, I want to receive another reward. The old man looked at him and thought, look at him. Then he said, as long as you succeed, I promise to give you whatever you want. He shouted, thank you, sir. We guarantee to raid the dungeon at all costs. Cut to the dungeon. A squad is sitting beside the corpse of a monster. A black-haired guy said, you're back, huh? It turns out, they said, a bloodied, curly-haired guy said, a C-rank arena is pretty simple. Now we're confident we will complete the mission. Before Nam could finish speaking, Huynh-guk appeared with a triumphant smile. He said, everyone grab your weapons. The whole group was confused, staring blankly at him. Huynh-guk continued shouting, our support team will carry out the first solo raid. The whole squad was shocked solo, but we don't want that. Cut to 2 days later, a convoy's vehicle rolls down the road. On the vehicle, Huynh-guk said, since this is a zombie dungeon, we'll use holy power-coated bullets. But these bullets are stronger than regular ones, so be careful using them. He said this while holding up a clip of holy power-coated bullets in front of everyone. He added no more training. Everyone must be careful, understood. The whole squad replied in unison. Understood. At that moment, a team member asked Huynh-guk Corporal Lai, Huynh-guk, do you have the fianat? He smiled faintly and answered him, don't worry. The camera zoomed in on his hand, showing a blue spearhead-shaped mark. He clenched his wrist tightly. Then they parked the vehicle under a bridge. A shout was raised as the raid team got out of the vehicle. The whole team shouted together. Clear the gate. Push through the Lim-dong barracks of the Manhwa Guild. Corporal Lai Huynh-guk said, call Nam-ching for a moment, then before we enter the gate, you'll attend the campaign meeting. Follow me. He replied, understood. He turned to his team and said to Junmo Park, Junmo, take care of things here. Junmo answered calmly, understood, Park, Junmo. Another voice was heard, Bin Yi and Minty. Did you see that? Their gaze towards us didn't look very friendly. At this moment, you are looking at another squad also participating in the campaign with them. A guy in full white armor stepped forward and spoke to him, apparently the captain of that squad. He was kneeling and examining something. He said, Captain, I heard they're the monster defense support team. Regular soldiers, a whole squad of the lowest ranked troops. Then it's like we're carrying dead weight. Besides, they'll find out about the campaign recall soon. Assassin's voice was a bit loud, causing Nam-chin's squad to hear and get curious. Before he could finish, the one-eyed guy shouted, watch your mouth! He covered his mouth and said, I'm sorry. Nam-chin heard this and thought campaign recall. What does he mean? The one-eyed guy continued, once we enter, we'll separate from the monster defense team and go alone. He said, but if so, they won't survive. The one-eyed guy added, raiding the dungeon means risking your life. They have to protect themselves. They don't have a choice. Cut to the campaign meeting. Nam-ching saw someone and asked, I thought there was a meeting. The woman approached him and said, I had a feeling you would come. That time you hid your soldier identity very well and accepted my business card. He replied to her, I never wanted that. She continued, enough about the past. This raid, you guys only need to provide support. So when we enter the gate, don't do anything to obstruct our Manhwa Guild and just stay put. I called you here to talk about this. He thought so. This is why Manhwa agreed to have regular soldiers support. There's no spring in that. Do you think I will bow and obey? He told her, our team has equal rights as the Manhwa Guild right. She asked, so what? How do you plan to handle the boss monster? He interrupted her. Why not? Are you worried we'll win? Sorry, do you think I'll be lucky again like at Seoul Station? He stepped closer to her and said firmly, this isn't a trivial matter like luck. She replied, looks like you really want to die, huh? Then don't go in before us. No, you can't. 3 of the top 100 potential teams will participate, don't mind it. Just stay out of our way. He thought IU Henna didn't respond to the provocation, and there's also the campaign recall. There's something about this raid I don't know yet. Do you want to bet with me? If we catch the boss monster before Lam Hua, you have to give me what I want. She sneered, thinking always before Lam Hua. She said, you don't know what it's like to bet with me, huh? Or how you might lose your life to me? He replied, I do. He thought further, I don't know what she's hiding, but whatever lies beyond this gate, I will handle it. Next is the image of the red gate. A shout was raised. Lam Hua Guild will enter first, get ready. The Lam Hua army raises their shields at a shield command. The troops whisper, we'll leave the entrance area before those soldiers catch up, be ready to run. The command was given again. Lam Hua Guild moves and the monster raid team will follow in 3 minutes. Get ready. The Nam Chin army appears. He said to his team, hey Minty, are you nervous? No, sir, he replied. Private and Minty, I'm fine. Everyone focus, just do as we did in training. Everyone pay attention to your breathing, he shouted, and the whole team answered clearly. Now the whole team moved in. As soon as they entered the gate and opened their eyes, the scene was the Lam Hua army tearing each other apart. The Nam Ching team couldn't believe their eyes. The Lam Hua captain thought he would be the last survivor. Unexpectedly, at this moment, he was biting his own teammate. His member raised a sword at him and said, Captain. He was terrified and trembling. Then he was killed by his own captain. Switching to Huyn Guk's team, he raised his hand, signaling his team to move. Unexpectedly, they encountered the boss right after entering. It noticed his team and let out a strange sound. His team also stared at it. Without hesitation, it attacked your team. At that moment, Huyn Guk shouted, AMT Assault Team Fire!